Okay, I saw a thumbs up. It's a good sign. All right, thanks. It's 5:01 p.m. and welcome everybody. It's a regular meeting of the board. I'm officially calling the meeting to order. Stand if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. That takes us to item 1.03, Ventura County Community College District Board of Trustees ground rules. And public comments. I believe our one public comment we've received is for open session. Is that correct, Chancellor Gillespie? It's for closed session.
One for closed, and then there'll be one verbal for open.
Okay.
I can go ahead and read it.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
So this is from Hugo Hernandez to the Board of Trustees of the VCCCD, Chancellor Gillespie, and everyone taking the opportunity to review public comments. I'm taking this time to draw attention to comments made regarding item 3.06 of the May 25th meeting regarding student enrollment in the college marketing plans and the marketing and communications update to the Board of Trustees for this evening and the issue of branding. Moorpark, Oxnard, and Ventura colleges are recognizable brands to the geographic audiences of Ventura County and beyond. Each college serves its local community, and prospective students are its audience. Given declining enrollment, campus-specific outreach, marketing, and recruitment in the local communities and building relationships is critical. A district-wide central planning brand emphasizing the VCCCD harness those efforts as the main emphasis of most communications, focuses on colleges that serve, focuses on the VCCD as the brand. Reviewing the DAC report on marketing and communications, district activity reflects the VCCCD brand more than the colleges that serve students. 26 of 52 links in the report emphasize the VCCCD in their titles. How are the colleges and students served when the focus is on the district? 99% of the marketing is in English. How does that serve prospective students at Hispanic serving institutions such as Oxnard College? If the measure of marketing and effectiveness is student enrollments, how is the DAC doing? The current marketing and communications plan should shift from branding the VCCCD to engaging the audience of prospective students or their families to support increased enrollment. Respectfully, Hugo Hernandez.
Okay, thank you to Hugo Hernandez and to Chancellor Gillespie for reading those comments. So we are now going to transition to closed session. We do have two items on the agenda. The first one being 2.01 Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Government Code 54957. And the second one is Conference with Labor Negotiators, AFT/SEIU. And I'm happy to say we're going upstairs for public comment, correct? I mean, for closed session? Closed session will be here. Oh, okay. So closed session will be here. Got it. Okay. In that case, we're going to transition to closed session. Thanks. Okay. Good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to apologize. We're a little late, but we're here, which is great. All right, we are recording in progress. So let's see here. Right page. So we've returned from closed session and we have no action to report, but we will be returning to closed session at the end of the meeting. With that, we are reconvening in open session and we are now at 3.02, Chancellor's recommendation to the agenda. Chancellor Gillespie.
Okay, thank you. The items presented to the Board of Trustees have been reviewed within the District Consultation Council and are hereby presented to the trustees without constituent objection. And, you know, we did add more information to the Chancellor's recommendation of the agenda as well, because I really want to just recognize how the board is really the integral part and kind of the capstone of our participatory governance process as we bring items through. Accreditation standard 4C1 states that the institution has a governing board that has the authority over and responsibility for policies to assure the academic quality, integrity, and effectiveness of the student learning programs and services of the financial stability of the institution. So just want to recognize the board's role of that and kind of remind everyone that the purpose of our board meetings is for us to really bring forward the items that have come through our processes that require action as staff. Look at the board as a team with us as we work to bring items forward and help together perform the important operations and services that we provide as a district. So thank you.
Thank you for that. I would just add, this comes from the CCLC. Boards create a link between the educational institution and their communities. They also buffer colleges from undue intrusion by government and single interest. Boards are responsible for the resources, performance, and welfare of the institutions they govern. The task is tremendous, but the rewards associated with successfully overseeing the vitality of a community college are countless. So it's tireless work, but it's great work to be had. So moving along, we have changes to the agenda. Chancellor Gillespie.
I believe was one change to the agenda. However, could we put that up on the screen there if we have it? Just a sec while I pull it up here. Patty, could I have you just chime in with the change to the agenda, please, while I pull it up? I don't want to delay things. Yeah, it's a revised version. You're right. It's a revised version of the Bender Farms lease. So it's the latest version. Thanks, Diane. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. We are now, speaking of changes to the agenda, you'll notice Chancellor's report is at the beginning, which I think will really help with laying the foundation for a smooth meeting. So Chancellor Gillespie, 3.04, Chancellor's report.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it'll really be helpful to have the Chancellor's report at the beginning to give an overview of some items. And this is the first version of the Chancellor's report, and it'll become more detailed as we continue to develop it. But I do want to point out a couple things to help the board with some of the agenda items. First, under consent items, there's items 12.09, 12.13 that are, and 4 of these 5 items are to renew contracts with legal firms that we've had in existence there. The board reviewed and selected these firms after a meeting on July 23rd, 2020. And usually we go through about a 2 to 3 year time period before we reevaluate and put out RFPs again. I will mention that one of the firms is new. However, they're now employing an attorney who was with a firm we worked with previously. We worked with her since 2002, and we'll want to continue that relationship on our construction and facilities projects. So that's just to help you out with those items that are in consent for you. Another thing I want to bring up is board item 801 is the Oxnard College Educational Master Plan. Recognize the work that's occurred at the college to do that work, and recognize it represents a framework for a 9-year period. And within that, they will have outcomes and strategies during that period to accomplish key priorities there. And President Sanchez will comment on it briefly later. And there's opportunity for the board to provide input as well. We'll mention that there was a public comment around marketing and communications coordination, and that's an important topic for us and something we've been talking about at cabinet meetings. And we will be having some longer cabinet retreats coming up here in June and July, where we will be really looking to establish the expected level of coordination and teamwork that will be occurring with district marketing and the college level marketing as well, because we're all wanting to do the same thing, which is how do we market our programs, communicate with our employees and students to be making people aware of what we do and helping to grow enrollment. And I know that Director Blair and working with the college folks will be able to move things forward in an effective manner there. However, we do want to just spend some time discussing it as an administrative team to make sure everyone's on the same page with regards to moving forward. We'll mention the facilities master plans real quick. Moorpark College does have a relatively new facilities master plan. We have the master planning process really just getting started at Ventura and Oxnard colleges, and they've had some community input sessions, kind of visionary process sessions where it's the time to brainstorm. What is out there that people see, oh, it'd be great if Oxnard College could do this. It'd be great if Ventura College could do that. So at the beginning of a facilities master planning process, there is that gathering of ideas. And, you know, want to make it clear to the board as well as people at the colleges and the community that as the process continues, there will be additional charrettes, there'll be data gathering, and there'll be more developing of recommendations in a draft plan. So we'll go from a brainstorming phase to an analysis phase to then items to include in the facilities plan with an idea on how the funding could occur or how can we get the funding to accomplish these things. So just want to set expectations that even though there's a lot of great ideas at this point, not everything can be funded and done right now. It's all part of the process that'll be funneled down then into a more detailed facilities plans that'll be brought forward by both colleges there. And finally, I'll point out with 1903, which is the summary of our follow-up from the last meeting. The first two items under 1903, which is approved board policy 2015, which is the student member responsibilities, and then BP 2365, which is recording. Both of those will be brought forward in August. They needed more time to pull those the information together, but I am happy to report that more of the recordings were able to be reposted on YouTube, and the board was provided with the updated list there. The other comments that I'll have will be as part of the actual board items moving forward. So that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Make sure I'm on the right page. Changes in Chancellors Report. Okay, guests and recognition, acknowledgement of new employees. So congratulations to the following employees who were hired or promoted during the period of May 1st to May 31st. Vice Chancellor Barroso, do you have the names in front of you? Would you do the honor of reading off the names? Excellent, thank you.
So we have appointments of classified personnel. We have Antonio Frias, Oxnard College, Lauren Bykoff at Moorpark College, Michael Hayden, Ventura College, Robert Huichanco, Moorpark College, and Ruben Alcala at Oxnard College. So welcome to them. We also have appointment of management. Gabriela Rodriguez, Oxnard College, and our president at Moorpark College, Dr. Sokanu.
Thank you very much and congratulations. Okay, and welcome to the district for those new. Guests and recognition of Ventura County Community College District retirees. The Ventura County Community College District Board of Trustees recognizes the following individuals for their dedication and years of service and offers congratulations upon retirement. Janet DeWalt from Oxnard College, Technical Data Specialist, and began service in August 5th, 2015. Robin Douglas, Ventura College Child Care Center Supervisor. District service began November 1st, 1997. And Leslie Folks, Ventura College Kinesiology Instructor. District service began on August 12th, 1997. So congratulations on retirement. That's exciting. Okay.
I'd like to mention that we have Larry Buckley, who's finishing his term as our interim Vice Chancellor of Institutional Effectiveness, and he's retiring from the system after about 40 years in California.
Thank you for that, and thank you to Dr. Buckley. Okay, so that takes us to 4.03, acknowledgement of student athletes, and Chancellor Gillespie.
We're really excited to recognize our student athletes here with the board and in public. You know, we recognize that our athletic programs play a key role for many of our students, and they're really a pathway that many of our students take on their road to moving on towards getting bachelor's degrees and higher. This past year has been particularly challenging because due to COVID-19, the district opted out of competitive athletics for fall semester. We did opt in for a spring 2 season, and a number of athletes were able to have limited competition and some scrimmages as well. But on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we just want to acknowledge all of the student athletes that are listed, wish them continued success in their future endeavors. And for those of you that are coming back next year, we look forward to you participating in competitions. And we also want to thank the athletic directors, Matt Crater, Jonas Crawford, and James Walker, and all of the coaches, faculty, and staff who supported the athletes.
Thank you for that. Okay, I believe that's going to take us to 5.01, public comment, open session agenda items. And we might be in a situation where we don't have any public comments.
I believe there's one verbal comment via Zoom.
We have one verbal comment via Zoom.
And
okay.
that'd be Michael Sheets.
Michael Sheets. Okay. And hopefully the cyber networks will allow Michael Sheets to come in and provide his comments.
I'm here. Can you hear me, Chair?
We hear you, but we do not see you. Oh, now we see you. All right. Welcome, Michael. And the time is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Chancellor, members of the board, Chancellor Gillespie. My name is Michael Sheets. As the Executive Director of the AFT Local 1828, I would like to ask the board to take strong proactive measures to address the impending enrollment crisis that the district is expected to face over the next several years. Recent reports estimate that statewide enrollment in community colleges will continue to decline, with an average drop of nearly 12% and declines as high as 50% in some colleges. While the trigger for this precipitous drop was the unprecedented global crisis, it occurred not because students suddenly became less interested in pursuing their education, but because the overnight shift to remote learning drew into sharp focus the inequities at play in higher education in general, and more specifically, the failure of our community colleges to properly address the needs of those students who are most in need of our services. While our transition to remote learning was managed in the best way possible under the circumstances, and the damage that has been done is done, I am asking the board to now redouble their efforts to mitigate that damage by directing the Chancellor to develop a coherent plan to ensure that those students who were disenfranchised over the past year and either dropped out, failed out, or chose not to return are given the greatest opportunity to realize their educational goals. Over the past several board meetings, I have intently watched as each campus has given very well prepared overviews of both how they are using millions and millions of federal and state relief dollars, as well as the plans in place for marketing that we all hope will right the ship. However, what I have failed to hear among these presentations is what all great strategic plans must have: measurability, but more importantly, Accountability. Students need to be recruited and retained. They need classes and they need direct services. Additionally, by what metrics are we going to judge our success? And on what timeline are we going to monitor our progress? Action is needed now. I'm encouraged that the district has the foresight to have a plan. However, we have seen many cases from history where a plan without proper implementation and constant tweaking is destined for failure. In this case, failure means that our students, who have been disproportionately impacted enough as it is, will once more suffer the brunt of the aftermath of this cataclysmic event. We are in an unprecedented position of being inarguably flush with money. Between the federal and state relief and our ever-burgeoning unrestricted reserve, we are in far better position than many of our sister districts. Make no mistake, the crisis that we are anticipating has the potential to be life-threatening for this institution. Don't make the mistake of believing that this problem will become self-correcting. I believe Vice Chair McKay said it very well several meetings ago when she commented that we are fortunate to have such a large amount of federal and state funds available. However, that money will run out soon. If we do not properly address declining enrollments now while we have time, we will be suffering the consequences of this inaction for the next decade. Thank you.
Very much for your comments, Mr. Sheets. And that's going to take us to 6.01, Academic Senate President's Consultation. How about we start with President Clark?
Make sure everything's working. Okay, there we go. Good evening, Chair Chancellor. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Chancellor Gillespie. I just wanted to consult on two items this evening. The first is item 14.04, the Ethnic Studies full-time hire at Ventura College. This is coming partly as the result of the Ventura College Academic Senate passing a resolution highly prioritizing hiring in this discipline. So that's on one of the many things on your full consent agenda for this evening. So I wanted to highlight that one. And also 16.02, the tentative budget. I look forward to Dr. Alfatal's presentation, brief presentation on that. Just wanted to reassure the board that this has gone through participatory governance and has gone before the District Committee on Administrative Services, and it's has the support of all. Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Okay, sorry, I'm working on some microphone challenges. President Edwards.
Good evening, all. A couple things for consultation. 4.01, I'd like to welcome Tony, Ruben, and Gabby into her new position. We are lucky to have all three of them. 4.03, a thank you to our faculty athletic director, Jonas Crawford, and to all of the OC student athletes for their dedication to their sport and to OC during a pandemic. Teamwork makes the dream work. I know you all know that in that room. 8.01, Dr. Gillespie mentioned it, our Oxnard College EMP. It has been, to say the least, a labor of love. It will be a powerful document to help us move forward for the future. The document was fully vetted through our PG process, and everyone's voice has been captured. 13.02, Oxnard College curriculum. You'll see a new certificate in QuickBooks, a new certificate in Community Behavioral Health Worker, which is through our ADS or Addictive Disorders Studies program. And then you'll see a long list of deactivated courses, but these aren't going away. They're being replaced by non-credit courses, or they're being renamed or repackaged. Two things on consent, 14.05 and 14.06, sorry. The first one, 14.05, Performing Arts Center Technician. This is for an increased hours for this position. It's an absolute necessity for all of our live and our online classes. This will help faculty greatly. It's a position that will provide audio, visual, and technical support to all of the academic programs. And 14.06, this is our CDC positions, our increases and our additions. This is absolutely necessary to revitalize our center. It is exactly where the CDC task force, which I was a member of, this is the direction that the task force encouraged the college to take. We are moving on that pathway. I know you guys are also excited to see the revitalization of our center. Thanks so much. See you soon.
Thank you for the report. And next we have President Reese.
Good evening, trustees, chancellors, and others joining us this evening in various modalities, I suppose, right now. I think I will simply acknowledge two acknowledgements. The first is 4.01 for new employees, though not a new employee by any means. A hearty congratulations and welcome to President Julius Sokanu. I'm delighted to see his title shortened ever so slightly. And 4.03, I will echo President Edwards' words about the student athletes and the athletic directors. The Moorpark College athletic director, Matt Crater, he joined at a really difficult time as COVID had already hit, and he's been an advocate for the athletes and very innovative to keep athletes progressing both academically and athletically. So a big thank you and congratulations to all the athletes and the athletic directors for their dedication, their innovation, and their resiliency, which will carry them forward in all that they do. Thank you.
Okay, Academic Senate Presidents, thank you very much for the reports or consultation reports. Next is our Classified Senate President's consultation. And why don't we start with Linda Resendez? President Resendez, sorry.
Good afternoon. I have no items today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. President Medina.
Good evening, trustees and Chancellor Gillespie. I have a few items to touch upon. Item 4.01, acknowledgement of new employees. I want to extend a warm welcome to our newest classified employees, Tony Frias and Ruben Alcala. In addition, congratulations to Gabriela Rodriguez, who has been promoted to director for our newest grant. Although it is a huge loss to our classified Senate, I will never stop cheering on the advancement of classified to new positions. Item 4.02, with the arrival of new employees comes the loss of others. Congratulations to Janet DeWald on her retirement. She truly was a one-person show, and her dedication and contributions to Oxnard College will be missed. Item 8.01, which Amy touched upon, a few of these items Amy has touched upon. The Oxnard College Educational Master Plan, what you have before you, was developed after numerous listening sessions, discussions, and a planning retreat. Our administration was intentional at gathering feedback from all constituents, including classified, and has developed a framework that will lead to increased student success, retention, transfer rates, while taking into account student needs, community needs, and an equity lens. Item 14.02, action to approve establishment of a basic needs specialist position. Approval of this position will allow us to expand our web of support to our students with additional intentionality in the realm of basic needs, which we know plays a role in student retention and success. This position did go through our resource request ranking process and was ranked as our most critical need. Item 14.06, regarding our CDC Child Development Associates to full-time positions. Approval of this item would further support the recommendations of the CDC task force and the revitalization of our Child Development Center at Oxnard College. And item 16.02, action to approve the tentative budget. As the analysis section states and was mentioned previously, the tentative budget was reviewed, discussed, and approved for recommendation through the participatory governance process, and we hope you will support this recommendation. Finally, item 17.02, approval of the Equal Employment Opportunity Fund multiple method allocation model. I've been a part of the EEO advisory committee for the past 3 years and have watched as the multiple method certification form has come to you for approval every year. This year, without a doubt, is the most detailed and extensive multiple method certification form that has been brought forward. In addition, unlike previous years, the evidence gathered to show that we are meeting the multiple methods was gathered and provided by members of the EEOAC. While this certification form is not the actual EEO plan, it is used to show that we are meeting, in our case, 8 of the 9 methods. Do we have more work to do? Yes. But do we have evidence that the district and the colleges have done what is necessary to meet those 8 methods? Yes. And that is what you have before you. We are currently in the process of rewriting our EEO plan. It is becoming a robust and detailed plan that will be utilized to strengthen our EEO efforts. And we look forward to bringing that forward to you in the future. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for the thorough report. Next would be President Shizboy.
Good evening and thank you. Just a quick congratulations to Robin for her well-deserved retirement, and also to Michael for his placement on our classified ranks. I know he's been with Ventura College over with athletics, but we're happy to have him over at A&R as well. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, without further delay, next is 7.01, which is student reports, but I just want to confirm if any of our student reps are online. If they are, feel free to unmute and what's the word? On
There
camera?
are no students.
No students?
No students.
No students. Okay. All right. Well, that takes us to 7.02, college reports. And just for the record, I'd like to mention that we have received multiple very thorough college reports. But I will hand it over to Chancellor Gillespie to kind of guide us through who will be speaking at this point in time.
And so we'll go ahead and start off with the Academic Senate Presidents. Moore Park, Eric.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you again, Board. I'm really going to want to talk about graduation. We had a drive-through graduation, and a big thank you goes to Kristen Robinson, the Moore Park College Director of Student Activities, and Christy Douglas, a part-time faculty member in hospitality, for organizing and coordinating a very well orchestrated and festive event. Do really appreciate Trustee Perez joining us for most of the event, actually handing out signs and goods with us. That was great. And Chancellor Gillespie for joining us later in the afternoon. Just a big thank you all around to all those who participated. It was so much fun to see the excitement on the students, and decorated cars and balloons, and it's a big deal, right? It was great to be a part of that celebration with students and their families and loved ones. And quite frankly, it was fun for us to see our colleagues in person for the first time in over a year for some of us. That was also good to see. I did get to attend my first nursing pinning ceremony via Zoom, I'm afraid. And it was a very emotional evening with recollections of fond memories and difficult challenges for the students. And they explained their experiences, and it was complete with tears, dancing, and yelps of joy. And those were just my reactions. I was impressed by the many multi-generational nursing families, and one particular touching moment was witnessing a grandmother, registered nurse, pin her granddaughter. So that really brought home both those events why we're here, right? We're here for the students, and it's been such a pleasure to help them reach their goals and celebrate with them. And I look forward to continuing that work with the board, the chancellor, and my fellow colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Amy, Oxnard.
I'm back so soon. Hope you didn't miss me too much. Couple of things from the reports. The list of accomplishments. The Academic Senate has started this document, which is where each semester we add things that we accomplished, things that we passed, things that we did, things that we supported. There's a hyperlink in your report, so I hope you will click on that link and view it on our Senate webpage. Our ninth and final episode of OC Live Online is now out. We're planning to do a hybrid next year, with most likely our first show live on the stage will be a holiday performance December 1st. So I'll be back with more details and invitations, but that's the plan, to do a few online episodes, but be back on the stage. Public Safety Department has a couple of updates that are not in the report. Our department chair, Captain Mike Cataley, he is doing something really innovative this summer. He's conducting tours of the Camarillo site with high school students to get them fired up, pun intended, for our face-to-face classes next year. So those have already started and are going well. They started the National Registry EMT and paramedic written testing. I practiced that all afternoon. They had several of Ventura College grads, also OC EMT students. This is very new and it's going well. They also conducted their National Testing Network testing, which is the entrance exam for the employment for all of our OC graduates and for the agencies throughout the state. And then I'm going to end with, like always, our faculty spotlight. This one is near and dear to my heart. There's a long bio. I hope you get a chance to read it. But it is Dr. Linda Chaparro. Dr. Chaparro has been with VCCD at Oxnard for over 35 years. That is a long time. And she is retired, or she's retired this semester. She did her bachelor's at Northridge, her master's at Berkeley, and her doctorate at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. I'm going to read a couple things she said, and then I'll close. Dr. Chaparro has seen limitless potential, courage, and tenacity of the VCCD student population. She tells us that it's been a profound gift to work with the Condors, and no one could ask for a better place to dedicate their entire professional career. It offered her the experience to witness many Condors go on to professional positions and become illustrious contributors to the world and into the future. She reminds us, all of us here on Zoom and those of you in the room, to keep up the good fight. Dr. Chaparro retired this year, but she plans to stay in her home in the community of Oxnard. So she says she will continue to contribute, but in different ways. So we wish her well. She's been pivotal in our department and reminds us of how great our faculty are at Oxnard College. Thank you.
Trustee Torres.
Chaparro isn't here with us, but she is such an amazing inspiration to our community of Oxnard. And to Dr. Chaparro, she was very instrumental for me when I transferred to Berkeley. And that pride in being a Chicana and to be from Oxnard, to go to Berkeley and to be able to do many things. And she is involved in the community. I get to see her. She's an amazing woman with a beautiful spirituality, and she fights a good fight, social justice work. And it's such a great loss, but I feel very blessed because she actually, she goes to my church and she serves there. So I actually am very blessed to still have her very much part of my life, where she continues to inspire me to do the good work. And so I'm very happy that we're recognizing all of her accomplishments. She was instrumental in bringing the Department of Chicana and Chicano Studies within our community college. So I know she's not here. I would have loved for her to have been here and be able to recognize her, because she is definitely such an inspiration to the community of Oxnard. And I know she will be involved, and I'm sad to see her go, but very happy for her. So I just wanted to share those words, because she has been such a huge influence for me when I was younger, and she continues to do so now.
I'll pass on those well wishes, and I'll give her this portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll move on to Dan Ventura.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things in addition to the hard work faculty are doing teaching the summer sessions this summer. In addition to some of the accreditation work and some of the curriculum work, we're getting folks set to go to the Curriculum Institute from ASCCC. I wanted to just highlight one thing, the cultural curriculum audit that Ventura College is exploring. We have our first set of mentors that are working now with Long Beach City College, where the program originated. Those mentors are going to start training a first cohort of faculty. I'm excited to be a part of that first cohort this summer, and then another cohort over the fall, working with faculty on ways to update their teaching practices in a way that would increase equitability for our students. So that's one main highlight that I wanted to share with you today, and hope to have more highlights as the summer goes on. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. And let's move to the classified Senate President reports. And Seb will start with Ventura College.
I actually have nothing to add to my written report, but thank you.
Thank you. Amparo, Oxnard.
Good evening again. So I will make this report quicker. So voting has been completed for the 2021-22 Classified Senate Board, and I would like to congratulate and welcome Amanda Berwick. She is our placement project specialist out of our career department and will be joining our board as a second vice president. In addition, Fidelia Flores from our financial aid department will stay on as treasurer. Dalia Sandoval from career education will stay on as secretary, and Berenice Rodriguez from our fire academy will stay on as first vice president. And myself, you are stuck with me for another 2 years. Next week, we will be holding our in-person end-of-year classified retreat. We're excited to bring our classified back together again. Although this is not the first time that we have come together in the last month, like the other colleges, we also held graduation festivities. And there is one item that I want to touch upon. Towards the end of the event, I noticed a student who had come with his mom and took pictures by our Fire Academy fire truck, which was also present. After graduation, Gabby, who we all know and who is instrumental in organizing our graduation festivities, received a voicemail from the mother who she later connected with. The mother shared her son is quiet and introverted and usually doesn't engage with strangers, but our enthusiasm and positive vibes brought the best of him. He was still walking on cloud nine and extremely proud of his accomplishment. It's always an honor working at Oxnard College and hearing just what we can do for our students. And finally, on June 1st, we raised the LGBTQIA+ progress flag. It was well attended and a beautiful event. Not only were we the first college in the county to do such, but the event impacted the city of Oxnard to do the same, and Ventura County followed suit last week. That is all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Linda, Moore Park.
Good evening, Chancellor Gillespie, Board of Trustees, guests. My report will be quick as well. I won't take too long. Just wanted to thank our administration for the acknowledgement messages that went out during Classified Appreciation Week. Very well, messages of thank you to all of our classified, acknowledging their hard work, a video with the mention of all of our classified was presented during our last MC campus update. We also, as Dr. Reese mentioned, we had a very successful drive-through graduation event with a lot of participation from our classified. It was good to see so many faculty classified that we had not seen in a long time. And it was great to see our students and their families participating in the selfie backdrops that were there available for them to take pictures, and just seeing all the happiness that went on that day. Last week, our classified board was able to attend the Classified Leadership Institute virtually through Zoom on June 9th and 10th. A lot of great presentations, a lot of great ideas were presented last week, and I want to just give a shout out to Sebastian and Amparo for the great presentation they did on the 9+1, and also acknowledge Gilbert Downs on his presentation that he did last week. And as far as planning for next year, our board will be having a mini retreat that we will take the opportunity to do our planning for 2021 and 2022. And lastly, we will have our first professional development event during Flex Week on August 12th. Katie Goshtasby will be presenting a workshop on personal branding, and we look forward to that presentation. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Linda. And then we'll move to the college presidents, and let's start with Oxnard, Luis.
Report and look forward to reporting to the board on the educational master plan.
Okay, thank you. Mary, Moore Park.
Just wanted to comment on a couple of things. First, again, an acknowledgement of the athletes and the athletic directors and coaches who have gone through extensive testing, the fortitude, commitment, teamwork, being there for each other. Really want to support them. Second, we have our mission coming to the board today. One of our social justice groups, it was fundamental to them that we as a college reflect on what our mission is, and that our mission should be adapted to match what the college's goals were. And we've taken this through our whole participatory governance process so that the new mission does reflect, it's been to our retreat and through the whole participatory governance process. And so we bring it to the board tonight. Also on the board's agenda tonight is a MOU with the California Youth Authority. Moore Park does this work with Ventura, and it is such strong work that I know that you all, I just wanted to speak a little bit on it. This was the work with the women group, but we also do work with the men's group. And there are just some fundamental incredible stories with the justice-involved youth that the colleges are reaching out to. We had some really amazing work this spring where from the men's group, they had been part of a theater course, they had written a play, and then it was produced by this year's one-act plays. And it was such a moment of pride for this group. It was truly amazing. The last thing I would want to just point out in our report, I hope you have been able to take the time to look or to listen to the vocal ensemble. The quality of the music from the parking structure is just brings tears to the eye, and it just represents the pride and optimism as we all move forward. So if you've not had the opportunity to listen to those, I would highly encourage you to. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Kim?
So I also want to thank the athletes. It has been such a challenging time, and our athletic directors have really stepped up to the plate and made it possible for our athletes to continue to train and compete and be safe. So I'm really excited that we're recognizing them tonight. Also, if you notice in 12.03, our purchase orders, there's several things related to nursing and the nursing program. So I know this was in my written report, but I think it's worth mentioning that we received over $180,000 from Aurora Loss, who passed away last year. And she was an incredible supporter of our nursing program. And over $90,000 will be used in nursing scholarships. And then the other half, over $90,000, will be used for purchasing needed supplies for our nursing program. One of the mannequins will be named after Aurora Loss. Her granddaughter called her Auntie Lala, or niece, and so one of them will be named after that in her honor. We're going to put a little plaque up and everything, so I'm excited about that. Also, you notice on 12.18, the lease agreement for Brender Farms. It's a 2-year lease agreement. This will give us time, allow us time to look for more permanent facilities for our program. We are expanding into additional space. You'll see we had 10,000 originally, and now we'll have 12,000. We're going to build a science lab because that is one of the pieces that we have not been able to offer at that facility. So we're excited about that expansion. Also, we're looking through our facilities master plan and planning on how we can better serve the Heritage Valley community and really meet the needs of our students there, and working towards trying to achieve a center status. And so through the facilities master plan, we'll understand better what kind of square footage we'll need, so that when we are looking for that permanent space, we'll know the parameters that are necessary. Also regarding hiring at Ventura College, we'll see at 1403 and 1404 that we're hiring an agriculture ILT, instructional lab tech. This person will really help move our agricultural program forward, which it's really growing, and also help us take care of our over 100 avocado plants in our orchard. So we're excited about that. And then we're also, Dan mentioned this earlier, our Ethnics Chicano Studies faculty member. This was put in place in order to meet the CSU and to write curriculum for Ventura College, so that our students will be able to have that transfer, that very important transfer class that's required for graduation. We had anticipated that this might happen later, but our faculty put through an out-of-cycle request. It went through our processes. The Academic Senate rated it as their #1 priority. It aligns with Ventura College's efforts related to DEI. And so we're excited that we're moving forward with this position. I think it's really going to help that new department that we established too. So last, you'll see 16.04 is our MOU with Ohana Pet Hospital. They have been a fabulous partner in establishing this anchor program at Ventura College. The MOU outlines the facilities and lab space that they are donating to the college for our use, and this will save us lots of money. So we're excited about that. It's really it's really delightful to work with them and their passion and their enthusiasm for this new program. We have also, to let you know, we passed phase 1 of the American Veterinary Medical Association accreditation, and we're planning our site visit for the fall of 2022. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. So appreciate everyone with their college reports, and now we'll move to the DAC reports, and we'll start off with Patty Blair, Marketing and Communications.
Trustees, I've submitted my written report to you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And then Cynthia, welcome in person to the board meeting. So Vice Chancellor of Institutional Effectiveness update.
Thank you. I've submitted my report. I have nothing additional to report. I will touch on some items in 7.05. I would like to thank Trustee McKay for bridging the partnership with Los Robles Health System and bringing forward job opportunities for our students at all 3 colleges. Thank you very much. Our students will benefit greatly.
Thank you. Dave, Business Services.
In the report, no further comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Laura Barroso, Human Resources.
Thank you, Chancellor Gillespie and members of the board. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to provide you with an update. I have actually a few things I'd like to highlight for you, which reflect some of the great work that was accomplished, starting with our District Council on Human Resources. Last year, we made some significant changes to the committee, including moving to a tri-chair model, and Eric Reese and Amparo Medina were instrumental in leading the charge of the work that was accomplished in that committee. The council worked together to identify goals for the year. We added a second meeting in the month used as a working meeting to ensure members of the council had dedicated time to do the work that we committed to do. We identified a list of accomplishments that we'll be going to cabinet within the next few weeks, and which I hope to attach to a future board report so that you can see the specific work that was accomplished. Another item I'd like to highlight is the HR partnering with the employment equity facilitators to provide ongoing training regarding their work and responsibilities on faculty hiring committees, as well as in troubleshooting common issues and sharing best practices. As a result of these discussions, many process improvement changes are being implemented that will lead to recommendations for the faculty hiring administrative procedure, as well as the revision of the facilitator checklist and development of a handbook that will be created in DCHR next academic year. Yet another thing I'd like to highlight is item 18.02, which is the EEO multiple method certification. In order to grant EEO funds, the state requires that the district complete a report and submit a certification indicating that the district has an EEO committee, which we have, an EEO plan, which we have, and certifying that an expenditure report for the prior year was submitted, which we did. In addition to that, there are 6 of 8 multiple methods that we are required to meet to receive that funding. Our Director of Employment and designated EEO officer, Andrea Ingley, worked very closely with members of the EEO Advisory Committee to compile that report. And when we submitted the request for an extension, we weren't able to bring this last time. The contact at the state indicated that the other districts only provide a 1-page document and not a 400-page report like what we are submitting. And further stated how impressed she was with our district on the completion of such a thorough report. Andrea and I also met with Trustee Torres to review items of the report, and that meeting took us to a greater discussion about DEI work and the importance of hearing from the board in this important work. So thank you, Trustee Torres, for taking the time to meet with us. And Vice Chair McKay and Trustee Torres, through the discussions in the DEI Ad Hoc Committee, have been a great source of support for us in human resources with this very important work. So we're very grateful for that. And on a separate note, I'll just conclude by saying that many of us in HR are excited about our current transition to get back into the workplace and support the rest of our workforce in doing the same. It's been some challenging months, and no doubt these next few months will be even busier. So with that, I'll turn it back to Dr. Gillespie.
Hey, thank you. And that completes the DAC reports.
Just had one question for Moore Park. Oh, let me open it up. Sorry. I'm breaking ground rules. Trustees, if there's any questions on the reports, and then we also have committee reports as well. So
It's for Dr. Herrera. It said that the Skyworks contract was pending board approval, but it's not on this agenda. Did we miss it? Are we expecting it?
Board approval
Last time. Okay, I drive by it all the time and I was like, did I miss it? So, okay,
Yeah, no.
thank you.
This is for Dr. Herrera. So I noticed, thank you for providing the report. You can hear me. I was looking, I don't know what page it'll be on yours, but it's the report where you're projecting the decrease of enrollment. So it says there's a projected of a 9.4% or 4,003 FTEs. Thank you so much for presenting to us real data about what it looks like so we can start strategizing in terms of what we need to do in terms of resources, policies here at a district. And when I was reading the report, not only did I like that you presented the information because it's really the state of the district. Where are we at and where it's projected? It could be higher, it could be lower, but at least this is what we have. This is how it looks. And the other piece I really appreciated was you had us look at categories, and as we were looking in terms of basic needs support, facilities, infrastructure, whatever decisions we were making, what goal was it going to be targeting in terms of a strategic goal? And so I really appreciated that because it allows some structure in terms of being intentional with the work we're doing as a district, as a board particularly. What is it that we're doing? What goal does it meet? What area is it going to be impacted? And I'm sure at some point we can look at the social justice and the diversity and the inclusion and check off those areas to make sure that we're monitoring. So I really wanted to say I appreciate it because it really provides us with some guidance in terms of the board, in terms of those metrics to measure. And thank you for the enrollment because that's something that's been huge for us as a board. And I appreciated seeing these numbers of a reality. So I just wanted to thank you for that amazing work that you were able to bring forward. So thank you. And also, I know.
Oh,
Dan's
Trustee
not
Torres,
here.
I will mention that Dr. Herrera and myself will actually be going over that information.
Oh, in another.
In 7.05.
Oh,
That's
okay.
our COVID response update.
Oh, okay. So I just shared my comments. So.
And thank you for those. Yeah.
Yes. And then there, I don't see Dan, but I know for IT, in that report, I also appreciated, there's going to be a survey sent out to students who drop one or more courses. Is there, maybe this is for faculty, is there a way to know prior to the student dropping the first course if they need some support so they don't get to drop the first course? I don't know where it happens. Maybe it's more in the classroom level. I don't.
We do have an early alert system that faculty can utilize where we incorporate counseling into that for retention strategies and assistance. Maybe the presidents have any additional things to add?
Is it used? Is it widely used? So do we have it? Is it being used that we've noticed? Maybe the presidents know the alert system. Is it automatic once a?
It's initiated by the faculty or the counselor, and
Okay.
we can get data on that for you if you would like later on.
Oh, that would be helpful just to see
The use of early alert.
Oh, that would be wonderful. That would be great. Thank you.
Questions before we get to committee reports. I just had a question. It was in the Moore Park College Academic Senate report, but it mentioned there was a vote on a compressed calendar. Is that the right terminology? Okay. I was just curious on the vote, just to kind of get a pulse of our academic leaders in the Academic Senate. Was it a unanimous vote? Was it mixed? I'm just trying to understand or get some background on that. I don't know if
I don't know if Eric is still on.
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Respond to
Thank
that.
you. Yeah.
There were 3 votes against. Everyone else was for the compressed calendar in our particular group. There's a compressed calendar work group, and we're just trying to finish up our final report to send to the chancellor ideally this week, and then it will work its way to you. It looks like there's overwhelming support on various fronts, with some concerns, of course, about considering moving to a 16-week semester that enables a winter session to give another opportunity for students to take classes, which is the main benefit of that altered calendar.
Got it. Thank you so much. That's super helpful. Okay. I believe we're now at committee reports.
Trustee Torres and I have met a couple of times, both, sometimes we've blended the meetings just because of our calendars for the diversity and equity ad hoc, as well as the board self-evaluation ad hoc. We met with a professional expert. We spoke about having kind of a more hands-on implicit bias training. I was expecting a little more. I know I felt like I needed more than what we got from the information we received from Laura Shulkin. And so we interviewed Ted Bagley, and Trustee Torres had met him, and in one of our meetings suggested that we sit down and have a meeting with him. We really, really like him. So what, our report is that we would like for the board to consider a professional development exercise with the full board on implicit bias with Ted Bagley. And then and we can send out his information and then kind of move forward from there. He is willing to go further with us, helping with some of our board policies that we don't have time to get through, but in order to get through them more quickly, to get the DEI work done, the board policy part. So that was, do you have anything else to add, Trustee Torres? Okay.
Ted has extensive experience in doing DEI work. And so one of the things that we talked in the DEI committee is we really wanted to have someone who is doing the work and who understands it, because DEI work is hard work, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what does that look like? How do you monitor? What are the metrics? When you have an implicit bias training as a board, how does that look like? And to bring that within our different perspectives, and there's value in it. And I think from what we received in January, it was very much lecture style. And so we wanted to truly bring someone who's doing this work, highly recommended, very committed to the community, extensive experience in this. And so we really had this great conversation. He said, anything you need me to help with, he has a good heart in doing this work. He's committed. And so as we were speaking with him, we said, this is definitely someone that can help us do some of this work and guide us. And so we wanted to start off first and foremost with the implicit bias training, something for us, because it gives the board the opportunity to also meet him, the board to also be able to say, hey, this is somebody that feels like can really work with us. Since Diane and I are going to be doing primarily the work of the DEI and the policies and looking at the metrics, it was definitely someone that both her and I felt very comfortable with, and someone we definitely wanted the rest of the board to be able to meet. So we would like to bring to the board and recommend to bring in Ted to do an implicit bias training with us as a board. And I think that's really the first step as we're leading the district in DEI work. It first starts with the board. It really starts with us being able to understand what it means, the implications within ourselves as we're governing. And then as we do the work as the governing board, then the rest follows within our district. So we felt that as a board, we really needed that support and that guidance. And so we believed, based on Ted's experience, based on references, based on many other criteria that we looked at, that he would be the best person to be able to really guide the board in doing this work.
And then for the board self-evaluation, we were a little late. So we used the same evaluation as last year. And I think hopefully everyone, if they haven't finished it yet, they'll finish it in the next day or so. And then, but we do intend to make some changes for next year. One of them will be a more formal evaluation after each meeting, not anything long, just a real quick, were we efficient? Were we this? Were we that? And I didn't bring the form today, so I'm a little remiss in that, but I will make sure that everyone gets it through the Chancellor's office. And we'll also be working with Patty Blair's office for some town halls, if you will, out at the colleges so that we can widen the input that we get from the community in hope of some more self-reflection in how we do our work, particularly after a year like this where we've all been shut in, that we really want to reach out to the communities and see what they have to say to us. And we'll be working with Patty Blair's to come up with the best way to do that. But we really want to get input from a greater community place. And anything else there?
With the DEI work, which is inclusivity, we felt this year, because of the circumstances, it will just be us. But the goal is to really bring in the entire community, to have the entire, especially because our meetings are live streamed. So because they're live streamed, we now have our entire community, outside community, our college community, be able to really take a look at our work and be able to provide us feedback. So really in the name of inclusivity, we decided that we wanted to open it up to everyone in our entire colleges, our 3 colleges in the community, to be able to give input of the board, because that will help us definitely do much better work. So just like Trustee McKay was mentioning, the goal is to be able to have a survey go out, but also have forums. We talked about also going into our colleges and be able to have town hall meetings where the board actually is meeting with the community there at the actual colleges, where it's more of a dialogue, because also many times it's people come and speak and we're not able to speak back. And so it creates like a barrier. And so in trying to remove barriers, one of the process also is, as a board, we will go out to our colleges and we will have a town hall, and that will be part also of the evaluation process of the board. So those are some of the ideas and the plans. And then as we're moving forward, we will provide an update, but it's been a lot of good work.
The meetings sometimes where it's just the 2 of us meeting on Zoom, it's kind of like we're sitting in the same room together, but not. And so we've done several meetings that way, and we've met with people from the EEO committee. And so I feel like we've had inclusive meetings, even though I'm still sitting in my room, and looking forward to meeting here in person with people like this.
Well, thank you for that committee report. I think it to solidify things, I for one am very supportive of working with Ted and getting that implicit bias training, professional development or professional learning completed. So I'm 100% in support of that. And I'm also very eager to engage in the community forums that you described. And I think it's a missed opportunity that hasn't occurred at this point. So I'm very eager to see that occur as soon as possible, because I think it's an important part of the governance process to be informed and to engage with the community. And I would imagine accreditation as well. Okay. Okay. All right, we're moving right along. So that's going to take us to 7.05, COVID response update 2020-21. Chancellor Gillespie.
Yes, thank you. So we'll be reviewing some information. So we'll have the presentation put up on the screen. And then before I turn it over to Dr. Herrera to get us started, I do want to mention, that information around the pandemic continues to be changing drastically and quickly. So, the good news is that the trends here in California and locally continue to be very positive. So we are aware that the California reopening plan is taking effect today, and that will, have an impact on a number of the things that we can be doing. As employers, what we need to be aware of is what are the changes going to be to the Cal OSHA standard. And so I'll kind of cover some aspects around that later in the presentation. I want to just thank Michael Schultz for his public comments around the enrollment decline, because we all recognize the importance of needing to turn that around. And that is a priority for us. And fortunately, we do have our ongoing dollars as well as significant amounts of one-time dollars to make significant impacts to reverse that trend. And, I'll readily state that our priority is to stop the decline and get back to the pre-COVID level during this period of the hold harmless. So we basically have the next 2 academic years to work to do that. And so that'll be an important part of all of our plans and conversations, and and it has been. So Cynthia, I'll turn it over to you for that review on where we're at enrollment wise.
Okay, we wanted to start by providing some data so we could all know the foundation of where we are and where we want to go. If you look at the first slide, it's the annual VCCCD comparison 2019-20 to 2020-21. And we're projecting a 9.4% decrease, or a decrease of 2,403 FTS. Trustee Torres was very accurate in identifying that we are going to have a slight decrease. It looks like the majority of all three colleges, it was in the spring semester where we saw the dip primarily. And so we anticipate, because the end of the fiscal year is June 30th, that we'll be pretty close in our projection. Next slide is the summer, which is 6-week and fall FTS comparison from 2021, 21, 22. And we are identifying for fall at this point in time, and recognizing that when this data was pulled, which was around June 7th, it was 76 days prior to the start of the fall term. And we're about 40% down at each one of the colleges, recognizing though that a lot of our students do enroll closer to the beginning of the semester as opposed to earlier. And so all three colleges are experiencing about a 40% dip at this point in time. Compared to last year at the same time, we're about 20% lower. So the good news is that we still have time to enroll students, and we have some great enrollment management plans in place at the colleges to facilitate that. Next slide. This is a crosswalk that was put together, that I put together because I've heard several discussions of looking at the COVID relief dollars and where are they going and how is it related to our strategic goals, as well as our student pathway of access, entry, progress, and completion. So this is kind of an at a glance perspective that I will be offering. We will time it quarterly so that it will be in alignment with the reporting to the feds. So we will incorporate the quarterly reporting with the line items, and I will align it and crosswalk it to the categories that you see in front of you. And then we will be identifying whether it's addressing goals 1, 2, 3, or 4, and whether there are institutional building of capacity going forward. This will help us in several different areas. It'll help us with accreditation and linking our expenditures to our strategic plan. And it will also give a bird's eye view of what we're doing and how we're doing it for enrollment management purposes.
Okay, thank you. And then we can move to the next. So just to give an update around the pandemic and some of the changes that are occurring, you know, Ventura County had moved to the yellow tier status, and really with the Reopening California plan that's now being implemented, the tier E ratings will be going away, and they're going to be having different masking requirements for vaccinated and non-vaccinated individuals. So there is a new public health order that's just been released today, and we'll be looking at that in detail. And also Laura Barroso will be participating in the next Cal OSHA meeting that'll be occurring on this Thursday to kind of get an update with regards to how our actual regulations we'll need to have in place in the workplace will be changing. With
Point out this beautiful logo for the County of Ventura. It was, my company actually designed the logo and we're really proud of it, but it came out just as the pandemic hit. So there was no great unveiling at a supervisor's meeting or anything else. So when I get to see it up on a slide like this, I'm still really proud of it. So
yeah, thanks. No, it looks good up there. Yeah. So as we move to the next slide, I want to talk just a little bit about COVID-19 vaccination and the status there. So we're really continuing to encourage all of our employees and students to get vaccinated. We have information on our website. Reminders do get sent out. The new guidelines and regulations that will come out will be evaluated as we consider whether or not to mandate the vaccine for employees and or students. That is going to be an important item for us to consider, because if you think of the ability for vaccinated individuals to be on site with no mask, no social distancing, that does open up opportunities for us to increase the number of our students that are on campus and adjust schedules to include some more in-person learning, which will really help us to connect with some of those 10% of students that have dropped out with us currently. So we're looking at these changes being beneficial in that way. We did a survey here recently just to look at the results of employees and students with regards to vaccination rates. So we had over 3,000 students respond to the survey, and about 60%, actually 62% of them are vaccinated, which is good. And about half of those who aren't plan to get vaccinated. And about 60% of our students support a vaccine mandate. I mean, I think everybody recognizes it just provides a level of extra safety there. On the employee side, we have 83% of our employees vaccinated. We had almost 900 respondents, so that's a really good rate there. Of those who are not vaccinated, about 36% will plan to get vaccinated, and we have about 70% of our employees who completed the survey supporting a vaccine mandate. So again, we'll just have to wait and see what the actual COVID-19 regulations are and then take that into account with our planning there. However, our priority, as has been mentioned, is how do we set up for our colleges to be as prepared as we can to have our employees back at work and as many students on campus as possible participating in classes and in student support services, knowing that we're going to continue to have a robust online instruction as well as continuing online student support services as well. If we move to the next slide, I've made reference to the Cal OSHA standards. There were some temporary emergency standards that Cal OSHA put out, and those got rescinded rather quickly because there was a lot of controversy. Some people saying they're too restrictive, others it's not restrictive enough. So they just reverted back to what we've been under. Now, at the meeting on June 17th, we hope that they release their new standards, and those won't be approved or go into effect until June 28th. That's when the State Administrative Law Office would act on approving them, and then we could be implementing them. But, both the governor's reopening plan as well as changes to Cal OSHA regulations, coupled with changes in the CDC guidelines for higher ed institutions and our local and state public health requirements will adjust the employee transition to on-site work and our in-person services and instructions to students. We're currently implementing our plan. A lot of employees are starting to transition back to work now, and we plan for all employees to be back August 1st. And again, part of that is we do have to roll in people coming back because it does take a lot of IT support as we get home offices set up for working in their offices here. And we also still have some building infrastructure projects that are going that are easier to do when people aren't in them. But we will be looking at speeding this up according to the conditions at the colleges and what the new regulations come out with. So we'll continue to keep the board updated and all of our employees updated. I will point out that with regards to in-person courses for fall, with the current schedules we have, Oxnard College has 53% of their courses with an in-person component. Moore Park College has 27% of their courses with an in-person component, and Ventura College 29% with an in-person component. So each college worked on schedules to prioritize disciplines needing to be in person and looking at how many students they can fit in with space limitations during our early planning. Again, we'll have the opportunity to look at adjusting those. So basically we have, on the in-person classes that are occurring, Oxnard is about 50%, Ventura is at 29%, and Moore Park at 27%. I think I might have read off the online numbers, so I just wanted to clarify that classes with the in-person component, Oxnard's at 47%, Ventura at 29%, and Moore Park at 27%. And so the rest is then online, but we'll have the opportunity to then shift that. And the board was sent the information today as well. So we look forward to providing updates on that as we go through.
Quick clarifying question. So the different percentages of some form of on-campus instruction is largely driven or partially driven by just the physical plant capacity? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, there's physical plant capacity as well as looking at prioritizing the disciplines where the in-person instruction is really needed. And Oxnard did make the conscious decision to go ahead and have each faculty have one course with an in-person component early in the planning stages there. And that has resulted too in the higher increase there. But I know all the colleges, and again, the comments that we've heard about the enrollment decline, one of our strategies towards addressing the enrollment decline is to work at increasing the in-person amount once these regulations change. Now it's fine. Yeah, we have one more slide to go, but then we'll do it after. Yeah.
With regard to a vaccine mandate, it would seem to me we don't meet in July, so we would either need to make it, next week at our meeting, or wait till it would seem like August would be kind of a tough time for students to decide whether they were going to come back or not with a vaccine mandate, and in fact, maybe impossible for them if they got the Moderna vaccine to even be fully vaccinated. So I'm curious, when do we pull the trigger on making that decision, on having that decision needing to be made?
Yeah, so we'd actually had hoped to make it June 15th today. However, the Cal OSHA changing things kind of adjusted our strategy a little bit. So this will be a priority conversation at Cabinet on Monday, and we'll be likely bringing a recommendation on Monday. So we have this item for the strategic planning session, and we'll plan to bring a recommendation is either to do it now or to hold off. Yeah.
I just have a piggyback question to that. So just to clarify, the board will ultimately be making that decision to do a vaccine mandate or not?
Yes, we will want that to occur at the board level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to speak for myself here. Something that would be really helpful is, a comparison of as many community college districts and colleges across the state as possible that have or have not done that. I think ultimately, I know we're making a decision on Ventura County, for Ventura County, but I would just like to see some other data.
Sure. Yeah. So I think a lot of the districts are like we are in where they're still evaluating it. In Chancellor Oakley's latest communication to the CEOs around the reopening plan, he made it clear that the colleges, community colleges and universities are being authorized to be back in session full time. And however, we do have to follow whatever Cal OSHA regulations and other guidelines exist. they're also strongly recommending that community colleges mandate the vaccine, but that needs to be approved at the individual district level. As you're aware of, the CSU system and the UC systems are mandating the COVID-19 vaccine. And I haven't heard of many community colleges requiring it at this point, but I'm hoping that that changes. And if it's something that's right for our district, I also don't mind leading that effort if it's going to help us with protecting our students, our employees, and helping with enrollments. But that's hard to predict because you do a vaccine. Some students may say, well, I'm not going to get vaccinated. I'm not going to come. You don't do a vaccine mandate. There'll maybe students say, well, I don't feel it's safe. I'm not going to come. So
Yeah, I think San Diego mandated vaccines and they're a multi-college district. So we may, and they did it 3 weeks ago, I think at least. And
they
so
did.
We may look to them to see if there were any changes, good or bad to their enrollment based on that decision.
Chair Chancellor, just thinking that if we're going to be entertaining an item like this on Monday, it might be helpful to be able to respond to the question of what can we do to support students in getting the vaccine if we make a mandate? Because I think that it's incumbent upon us to provide avenues for that to actually happen if we're going to require it.
I hope this mic is better. Is it better? Okay. I was looking at the courses and so I went online and I pretended to be a student. So I said, if I'm a student at a community college, how does it look like? And I even interacted with it said chat box, but it's not called, it's Chatlot maybe. So I said, okay, I'm going to interact and see how this works. And so that took me to looking at the courses that are offered at each one of the colleges. So I went into each one of the different colleges because I wanted to experience how it looks like for a student, and not a young student, even a student my age, trying to take a course. And if you're an in-person student, it was really difficult because I'm guided to go to this website, and I just want to talk to someone. And then I look at live hours, and it's like a live hour is going to be through Zoom. And that's all I have. So if I'm the type of student that I want to go to campus and I want to be able to talk to someone and go here, go there, I don't have that option. And so as we're moving forward, it's just something I wanted to bring up as we're considering once we hear from Kalosha and we know what direction we're going to go, what the transition is going to look like for our students that do need that in-person support. Because it was very difficult. If you're very technology savvy, you're able to jump around and you're able to get the support you need. It's very easy if you understand it, but if not, it's intimidating. And there's a point that you can say, I'm just not going to do this. This is just really hard. I have to go to this website. They're telling me to go to this other link, and I need to schedule a Zoom meeting to see somebody live. I don't have the option of going in person. All I have is the option of a live Zoom session or send an email. And I know for our students in the community that we serve, we have students that do need that support. I also looked at the courses because I would be a sociology major or a psychology major or Chicano studies major. I didn't have an option to take classes in person, not very many. If I wanted to go into dance, if I wanted to go into some type of a lecture, if I wanted to do auto mechanics, if that was my interest, then I have many options in person. But if I'm the type of student that wants to go into history, or I don't have that option, I could only do an online. And so at this point, I would probably say, I don't think I'm ready until there's more options. So in the name of equity, diversity, and inclusion, when we're looking at our schedule of classes, my understanding was that a 50%, and most colleges have 50%. I know that there's some that have a little bit lower. I know Oxnard College has 47%, which is really good. But then when we're looking at our percentages, and are we looking also at what classes are we offering? So it's not just on the ground. So we have a number of on the ground, but then from those on the ground, is there equity in those courses that are chosen to be on the ground to serve the needs of our students based on what they need. So if you're a student that wants to major in the sciences in terms of English, history, you have to wait until you're able to do so. So there isn't that equity piece. And with this said, I recognize all the efforts, right? I recognize all of the hard work that's going into the colleges. I'm just looking into seeing more of the courses that there's equitable for students' interest. And at this moment, we have community college, the 3 colleges, with the majority offering courses in person for those students who are doing some of the other training certifications that require for you to be on campus. So I'm looking forward that once we get guidelines, that we are prepared and ready once we have, whether it's a mandated vaccine, whether it's no longer social distancing, people that are vaccinated, they don't have to wear their masks, that we are ready to go in the fall to be able to respond to those needs. We are seeing data in front of us to our board. We are seeing data in front of us that our district has provided, letting us know we have over a projection of over 2,400 students that we are going to lose. We might lose more. So at this moment, it is upon us to be able to give direction. And if we are able to do so safely, because that's our first priority, safely with guidance from Cal OSHA, to be able to get on the ground more courses to allow our students to come in. And I remember at the beginning, it was the safety concern, which is the most important thing. And safely, we weren't able to do this. So we projected the best we could. So at this point, I'm looking to say as a board, looking into DEI work, which is one of the things we've been speaking about very much. How does DEI look in the fall? How does equity look in the fall for our students once it's safely so they're able to take courses? Because at this point, our responsibility is to offer courses to our students. And I don't know how it looks like. I don't know if this is the moment where we think about it and we just have so many discussions and we need to have some actions as a board. And I don't know how that looks like. And I don't know what that action would be, but I am looking to my board to be able to decide, because we discuss very much and then we don't decide on how that's going to look like. And it's not the district's fault. I mean, they're doing, what the best they can, but they do need to hear from us to decide, okay, what is it that we're going to do?
Thank you for your comments. I forget if it was 2 or 3 meetings ago or 2 or 3 months ago. But when we started this conversation, it was pretty predictable the direction that the state was going to reopen and how things would look. And the number, I think it came from Trustee Mantooth, the number and the hope behind it was 50% would be the floor, like the base, and we would grow upon that. But we're nowhere near that. If you look at face-to-face courses, Ventura College is 11%. And I also engaged in the activity that Trustee Torres described. I pulled course offerings, course schedule for English, chemistry, history, biology. There are minimal, and minimal is an exaggeration. In many of these departments, there are no, and I repeat, no in class or in-person options at all. And it was also 2-3 meetings ago. I said, what if you're a student and you just want to take in-class or in-person course offerings? I feel that you should be able to do that. And that's not an option at our 3 colleges, even with the resources, even with the millions of dollars, even with the gift of time that we had to do this. And I agree with you. I think as a board, we need to give some direction to the district. And that's why we're here. I also found an article. It was interesting. It was from the County of Santa Clara, and it was actually the Bay Area Health Officers support. And it said support full in-person school this fall. And I know we're not in a position to do that, but I found the reasoning behind it. And it said the lack of in-person learning has disrupted education, weakened the social supports provided by school communities, negatively impact mental health, and prevented participation in the rituals and shared milestones that tie our communities together. Trustee McKay has mentioned it many times. Our students are voting with their feet. They're not signing up, and they're not enrolling. They're not re-enrolling. I feel for our graduating high school seniors that are in an environment right now that is in person, and they get in-person assistance. And then they think about or entertain the idea of community college. And imagine a Zoom tour, or a Zoom, environment of support that already you're grappling with a foreign environment of a higher education institution, the different regulations and policies and systems in place. And then we throw upon them, there's not an in-person option for support or instruction. So I'm ready to provide direction, or as one trustee, I know Trustee Torres, you mentioned you're ready to provide some direction, but right now, fall, face-to-face, Moorpark College is 19%, Oxnard is 19%, and Ventura is 11%. This comes from the Chancellor today. And I understand there's another category of hybrid, and then there's all online. But I don't know. And I think this is why at the beginning of the meeting, I shouldn't say I think, this is why I read that whole caption or phrase of why we have a board. It's that bridge between the community. And every day I hear from the community saying, it's time to reopen for instruction, in-person instruction. And I know that term reopen strikes people sometimes the wrong way, but I was reminded of it this evening coming through the front doors. There is a sign on that door of this district that says the Ventura County Community College District is closed to the public right now. That's that. And when you go on our campuses, they feel closed. And it breaks my heart that the fall is planned to look very similar to what we're experiencing right now. So I don't know what the solution is. I've heard ideas of utilizing as many late start in-person courses as possible. I know other community colleges have converted online or hybrid courses to in-person courses. They're doing that now. But I think it's real important that this board speaks up and shares where they are in this matter. Otherwise, the plan that exists right now will be the plan that is fulfilled, which is currently 11%, and these content areas with no in-class options.
So I do believe that I'd stated that the colleges will be looking to increase the in-person. So this is the schedule that was developed back in January, February, when the pandemic was really high. And we've said all along that as conditions change, adjustments can occur. I mean, there's time now for still some changes from, online or hybrids that are synchronous, especially to change to more in person. And this is something that's an ongoing conversation occurring at our district meetings, at least weekly, if not more. I know at the colleges, because we all want what you want. So we want to be able to bring more in-person back, and we're going to do it responsibly. And I want to have our employees supportive as we're doing that. But with the changes as they occur in the Cal OSHA standards, if let's say whether we mandate a vaccine or not, there'll be a time where, we'll say to an employee, you're back at work, and they'll come. So, we have a good plan, but it needs to be adjusted according to the changes that will be occurring. And I'll let the presidents comment with regards to their thoughts with how their schedules may change over the next weeks between now and the start of August, or the start of classes in August.
Dr. Gillespie, that you didn't already say, which is we're looking for opportunities to add more in-person classes. You all remember the heat that I took when I was aggressive about requiring faculty to teach a class in person. And I don't remember a lot of defense of that decision, So it's easier to say it abstractly than it is when faculty rebel at that idea. But I'm all in favor. I am right with you. I am all in favor of bringing back as much in-person learning as possible. And I'm sending that message out about a robust in-person spring schedule. That doesn't mitigate the need to do as much as we can for the fall. But I don't know that I have anything additional to add.
That's fine. Mary?
I think that that you are correct in that we have focused on certain areas. Our numbers aren't huge, but we did focus on the English, the math, the chemistry, those kind of, because we did talk with students and the hybrids, the high flex. I think you're correct. I'm not sure that meets our need, because we think that gives them more socialization, gets their foot wet, gets them started. But I think it is a different group of students. And we're really trying to have the pedagogy for all: synchronous, asynchronous, the hybrid, the high flex, and the completely on ground. And I think that the issue to me is going to be, how are we going to market? And I know today's a marketing day for a lot of conversation, but most of our marketing is online, just because that's the way our world is right now. And I can tell you that these on-ground classes are not filling up. And I am telling the faculty, we are sticking with these guys. We built it, they're going to come. And, I might be like you with Luis, where we're going to be a little bit abused on this if we do have to make cuts. But our students are coming to the online ones for fall. But that's reasonable, because that is how you hear that what our schedule is, our social media. We are advertising in the radio. We are advertising in the Acorn and the Reporter and different things like that. But it's not clear that that is where a lot of our students get their news. I don't think that they do. So it's a difficult task to tell people we are back. I did talk with a group of students that were in a communication class. I was giving a little lecture for them, a little talk with them. And they were saying, we want to come back, but I really want all of my classes together. I don't want to just come back for this class and then go online. And I don't want to come back for one day and then be online. I want them all together. And then the other said, no, if we have to do this, I think I'd rather just be online. So we have a very picky group now. We've given them a lot of options. Their life is complicated, and it's not going to be easy to mind read as to what their needs are in that. I think we have to get them committed to getting back on their educational path, and then we'll work with trying to get them into our particular classes, different pedagogies. But it's not an easy task, because on ground sounds good, but they want them all put together on, in a nice packet, so you only have to come one day a week. They've gotten used to doing school in their jammies, it's a whole different world. So we're going to have our tasks set ahead of us. So.
Thank you for that. I would just add that, I think one piece of, and I'm not a marketing expert, but I think one piece of the marketing is the activity that Trustee Torres and I did, which was to attempt to register for classes and to see what's available. And if a student was eager to take in-person courses, or at least have the option to take some in-person courses, they're going to go in a different direction if everything is online. So I think that's a part of the marketing as well, at least for me. But President Hoffmans.
Yes. So thank you. You've got to remember, and Chancellor Gillespie mentioned this, the scheduling was done, in February. So it was a much different picture at the time. We did survey our students, and we even went the extra mile and surveyed our students that had left us in order to see what their preferences are and what their concerns were related to the schedule of classes. And overwhelmingly, students still at that time, it was probably, I think it was more in March, they were interested in online classes predominantly. We do have the mix of classes that Mary mentioned, the hybrid, and the hybrids as well as the high flex. They can go more in person as people start to feel more comfortable and come back to campus. We are taking a look at the schedule and going to be adding in-person classes. where we can and where faculty are able to teach it and we have the space availability. So I think you'll be seeing those numbers go up because people are starting to feel more comfortable related to teaching in person. And it'll be really important to see what happens with Cal OSHA on Thursday and what those restrictions will be like. So I think that you'll see that we're aware of some of the gaps that we need to fill, and we'll have to look at it. But I'll tell you right now, you're going to see those classes as we're adding them. Our in-person classes, as Mary mentioned, their enrollments are lower. And so we'll move forward, with low classes, reasonably low classes in person to start getting the ball running. But this is going to be a tricky semester in the fall with that transition.
I'm not surprised that at this moment the numbers for in-person are low, and that's because those students that probably dropped most likely needed in-person. So right now, the students that are registering are the ones that like online, and they've been thriving and succeeding in line. So that's why our schedule of classes, we see online filling up and not in person, because we still haven't been able to reach to those that left. And Mary, you brought a really good point, and thank you for mentioning it. You said our marketing has been primarily online. So because the marketing is online, because that's all we've been able to do. So we're reaching out to people that feel comfortable online. And you mentioned the Acorn paper. Not every student reads the newspaper on Acorn. So looking into those areas, even of our marketing, do we need to change the strategy in terms of how do we reach out? How do we reach out to our students that left? And maybe we need to do it something differently. And so we know this is successful because our online courses are filling up. And I do believe we're going to have online for our students. And to be equitable, we need to have online and hybrid and not in person. That's really what we need to have as a community college. And so I think it's also looking into our marketing and maybe seeing, okay, how do we reach out to our students that we lost? The survey was really good, and being able to say, okay, so we started in February. February, we didn't even have vaccines yet at the moment. And so now so much has happened. What do we do now to reach out to our students? Do we build partnerships with different organizations that are able to get to the community? In mental health, there's something called cultural broker. And the cultural broker is the one who knows the community and who goes out there and does dispels like mental health and goes and does the work. So people are able to come and have access to mental health. And do we need to, within community college, start looking into something like that, that's able to go to those places that are difficult to reach out some of our students, whether it's not necessarily going to be the marketing, but is it something more in person? And I think as we move forward, it's looking into those different areas to how do we get to our students that have dropped because they're not registering, and also the courses. So some of the courses that I know for myself that I looked in person, at least at some of the colleges that weren't necessarily a class I would take. I would be like a sociology major. I didn't have much of an option, or criminal justice for some. So those are all the different pieces to look at. And I really appreciated Cynthia's report, because I think if it's something we have similar as we're checking off, how are things looking, classes, offerings, marketing. Okay, so what type of marketing? So we've been spending so much money in this area, which is needed. How do we now revamp it and do something completely different? And do we need to start partnering up and doing different works to reach out to those students that left? And so I think that'll help a little bit. And I feel as trustees, we can also definitely do our work in terms of helping out and bringing in some of our students. But I do remember, and the reason I bring up in terms of how this is going to look like in the fall, I remember the conversation in February, and I remember the conversation being that because the schedule is already set, it would be very difficult to change it in the fall. So we would have to stay with it in the fall, because I remember this exact conversation, but at the time we didn't have all of this. And I remember very specifically giving the example because we heard about June 15, and we said, what if June 15 happens and all of a sudden we're able to, now that we're at the yellow tier, we're able to take classes. I've taken the vaccine. My friends have taken the vaccine. I'm in a different place. I've had the summer to just really get myself acquainted without my mask, being with my family, being with my friends. Okay, great. I'm ready for the fall to go and take a class. And I remember saying this in February, and I said, how will that look like? And now come, what are we today? June 15. It's happening. Mostly everyone's vaccinated. We're all here without a mask. I still wear the mask because for people that don't feel comfortable, I still want to make sure that there's a transition place that they can be at this meeting and that I will wear my mask. But we're all here without a mask. We're all meeting in person. In February, this isn't how it looked. And so we still talked about it. How is it going to look for our students? So now come August, so we're looking into 2 more months. Most likely people are going to feel much more comfortable. Our students that had a little bit of hesitancy feel comfortable to say, I'm good to go to class in person. I'm fine. What options do we have? And we're the community college of the community. And so I know there's going to be efforts. I just don't know how that will look like in terms of courses. And I appreciate everything that's being done. So that I do want to make sure that it's noted, because I know it's a lot of work, a lot of just tents that are being built, looking into the facilities to try to bring in more courses on ground. And it's just now having more of the social sciences, having more of that area for those courses as well, because that's missing. And I don't know how does that look like? And like Josh said, how does the rest of the board feel? So at this moment, Josh and I have spoken, but it takes really our board to decide what do we want to do. So I think I'd be interested in hearing just how my colleagues feel as well.
I wish I had $1 for every time I had either made or heard the statement that after COVID, education's never going to be the same. And every time that statement was made, it was agreed with. No one ever opined that we would ever go back to the status quo. That box is opened and you can't close it again. But I want to believe, and I think we all have to recognize that we all want virtually the same thing. But you can't flip a switch and have it happen overnight, particularly in structures that we have at the community college level, as opposed to maybe my former world in K-12. But I have the utmost confidence that our leadership at the colleges and the staffs at the colleges and this board all want much more than mediocrity, and that our job is to make these comments that people hear, take note of, and act upon, and we support what is ongoing. It's unfolding, and it's going to take some time. So I'm not favoring doing anything extra dramatic, because I have faith in the people that we've hired to run the show.
I was able to tour all 3 campuses. I wanted to see firsthand the mitigation measures that they were putting in place and the steps they were taking across all fronts, student services, financial aid, in classroom instruction. And at each campus, the motivation was to create a healthy and safe work and learning environment for everybody to serve as many students as possible. Even during those tours, it was acknowledged, as Trustee Mantooth just said, education it's a different arena now. It will be, and there will be some pluses that we can learn from and take away from this experience, rather than just. I share your frustration. Well, not your frustration. I share your impatience. We all do. But I too am convinced that the Chancellor and his team and the 3 presidents and their teams are doing everything they can within the authority granted to them, and aren't sitting idly by, aren't unthinking of the what ifs that will be coming their way, because it's not only in the students' interest, but it's in their interest as well to strive to improve at every turn. And that's even under the pre-COVID, I could always see their passion for education. And, so it's unfolding. We get new information. I am convinced and confident that we will adapt. Again, it's important to restate, I guess, two things. One, we heard a public comment tonight about making enrollment a priority. Well, how many times do we have to say that before people actually hear it, that we've made it a number one priority? And the other is, as the chancellor led off by saying, he and his team and the presidents and their team want what Chair and Trustee Torres have expressed. It's it's just a matter of trust and confidence and providing support to them to get it done. And then I just, I just need to note that the current circumstances are no secret to us as a board as well. And we chose to go dark in July. So we made ourselves unavailable if necessary, or sure, we can call special meetings, but we made a conscious decision. We're going to go dark in July. So where does that leave everybody else? If something needs to be acted upon. So, you can point the finger out that way, but there are times where we got to look inside ourselves too and see, are we always doing all that we can and should be doing? So, thank you.
So that leaves me. First, it isn't just education that won't be the same. I don't think anything will be the same. I work with a lot of private companies daily. Almost the larger they are, the more they've had to change. And the community college system of California is the largest higher education system in the country. And I know that I somewhat arrogantly thought that this would be a bit of a win for us a year ago, that if everyone was online, including four-year institutions, why would someone pay to have online and be sitting at home? Why would they pay more? Why wouldn't they just come to one of our colleges? And I wasn't alone in that. I mean, that was kind of a general thought up and down the state with my colleagues that I work with. And we've all been disappointed and somewhat surprised that did not occur. Many students went off to their four-year colleges and did online classes from a dorm room where, they were lucky enough to get a dorm room or that their parents let them go. So they still got somewhat of a college experience. We don't have that available to us. We only could offer online one way, but maybe there is another way to offer it, and still offer some culture back. But I can promise you, private companies are wrestling with the exact same thing that we are, is how to get employees to come back and be comfortable. They work in cubicles that are close, and so they've been redeveloping and reworking, and commercial real estate is falling. So this isn't just an education that's not ever going to be the same. I don't think anything is ever going to be the same. But I think that's why the board was quite generous with using the funds that, we have your back if your on-ground classes don't fill up. We still want you to offer them because we hope that we are going to show that our colleges are open. That's why we said, take that money, this one-time money that we have, and hope that the permanent enrollment comes back by showing the world that we're open. And so I appreciate President Sanchez, that you put yourself out there to do exactly that, because what people saw in the newspapers and any other place is they saw the high schools have the graduations that they didn't have last year. They had graduations in their stadiums and throwing up their caps. And we did lovely, absolutely wonderful drive-through graduations, but they were not the commencements that the high schools did. And so that's what you can do all the marketing in the world, but that's what we showed the world, is that we were still doing drive-through, and the high schools, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, were able to figure out a way to do, commencements. And so, And CLU did their commencement up at the fairgrounds. You know, they did things. So all the marketing in the world can't change what we did and what we showed. So how do we fix that? We have to show up. We have to, as quickly as possible and within reasonable guidelines and IT limitations and CalOSHA standards, show up on our campuses and be there when students come and welcome them back. And that's really what I think is the best that we can do. And not just here in Ventura County, but I'm talking up and down the state, because we're not alone. I mean, this is community colleges up and down are just, our student base did not thrive in this pandemic. The type of learning didn't thrive. They didn't thrive in the economy. I have cousins that are in the cardboard box business and they're making money hand over fist because everybody's shipping everything. I mean, who knew? No one knew who was going to win and lose a year ago, but there are winners and there are losers. And, we know even in our own community that some parts of the community in our own county, some parts got hurt far worse than others. And so it is never going to be the same, but I think like I said, for a marketing standpoint, the best thing we can do is back all of you with the funds that are available to us. They're one-time funds, but put them out there and invite the students back. We trust you to do that, and we're going to have your back when you do it. So that's what I would say.
Okay, well, thank you. I think those comments are helpful. And I just want to, in my process of learning more and more about the community college system and our system, because they're all different, all the districts across the state, some are at 75% in the fall, some are at, I heard Santa Monica's at 11. I get it. They're all over the place. But I think one universal truth or something that's consistent is our students are registering. They have been registering, like early enrollment. I think we pushed back to late March, mid-March, something. And a lot of students, if they haven't registered by now, they're probably registering now. And I guess as we, as a board, want to get behind the colleges and of course the district, we want to get behind things we can see. So I would just emphasize that we can talk about the things we're going to do to make some in-class options available or in-person options available. But until they actually show up online for students to enroll, we are still in sort of a, current situation of like our current or our past spring semester. I mean, it's very similar. So I would just echo what my colleague said, but I'm very eager to see some in-person options available for our students and our community, because it's going to get harder and harder to report back to the community that there are not in-person options on a marketing sense, but on also an educational experience. And, once fall semester's gone, it's gone. You can't get it back. And I know we all know that, but it's not impatience. It's truly worry. And I worry for the students that are community college students and a missed opportunity. So, okay. And I'm glad it was reminded that we have one last opportunity next week to sort of revisit this item and maybe to get an update on some solid plans of what it will look like through summer and into fall. Yes.
Actually, at one of the board meetings, and I can't remember the name of the college at the moment, but they said that every semester that passes by makes it much more difficult to recruit students. So, and that really stayed with me because we're going to have the fall. So it's just something to consider. And I appreciate that the trustees were able to share their perspectives. Ventura County was one that was definitely hit, and we have Oxnard with the pandemic, and there was deaths and there was people getting ill and loss of jobs. So as we start continuing to look at the work of equity, I think it's important. It's important, I think, as a board to be able to share our perspectives so we know where each one of us stands in terms of this, because it allows us as a board to know the work that we still need to continue to do with one another. So just wanted to point that out, and I'm looking forward to the next item because I know it's going to be really insightful and really good and be able to celebrate.
Before we take a break?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for, next Monday, I mean, we will be bringing likely a position recommendation around the vaccine mandate. Between now and Monday, there isn't going to be anything real new, or colleges aren't going to have new plans around what they're doing with their classes and enrollment. I mean, they're actively making changes. I think what we can do is start, whether it's weekly or weekly, share with the board the percent changes that may be happening there. But our plan is what it has been all along, to bring our employees back to the workplace, to bring as many classes back in this in-person format that we can as the conditions change. It's not going to be back to normal, but it's going to be close. And we're not an outlier. I mean, if I was a chancellor, or you as board members, if we were an outlier with, we're going to stay just like we were right now, where we have 10% of our classes are going to be in person, I'd be concerned if I was a board. Instead, you've seen us, we're in the 27 to close to 50%. And that's good. When we compare with where we're at with our surrounding South Central Regional Coast colleges, we're right in there with them. And when we look at our student enrollment reductions of 9.3%, the state average is more than that. I mean, it's over 10% nationwide. We have some colleges that are 30% down. We don't want to be in that category, and we're not, because I'm really proud of the work that our employees have done, our faculty, our staff, administrators, reaching out to our students and keep them. And it hurts for every student that we don't have anymore. It hurts them, it hurts all of us. And I'm very sorry for the impact the pandemic has had on people's lives. They've lost loved ones, and it's a transition back. As it was mentioned, you don't just flip a switch and we're all there. It's back. We're making the best decisions we can to create an environment that welcomes our students back in a mode with a range of instructional modes. So I won't have new plans.
Oh, okay.
I will be able to update on where we're at with our current ones to work at doing what we're doing.
Sorry, I guess I misinterpreted that the plan that was presented tonight, or the reference to the plan that was presented tonight, was basically the February plan. So I guess my question was, I was looking forward to an updated plan on course offerings and basically student support services on what our fall is going to look like. Because I know we're talking about it. We're saying things like we're going to transition. We're going to do the best we can for students. You mentioned, Chancellor Gillespie, we want to get as many students on campus as possible. You mentioned that earlier. And these are powerful statements, but I guess as trustees on the accountability level, it would be helpful to support you and the work you do to sort of see what that looks like and what that's going to look like in light of, I understand things are changing, but the fall, we can talk about the changes that will happen in fall, but it's really helpful to see that and to get behind that and to support that. But it's hard to do that when we can't see it and we can't, we just can't see it. So, and I think that echoes some of the public comments that we heard, or the public comment that we heard tonight, is to see the plan. And I think employees are eager to see the plan, the community for sure is, and trustees are eager to see the plan. So.
To understand, because I know as a board, we represent the community. Do you need to see the community here that comes and speak to us? Because I'm speaking on behalf of the community, but if we need to have the community here as a board, we can hear directly from them, I can direct them to come here. But I just feel like I represent them when they come and they share with me these concerns, and I'm going to bring it forward. And that's what I let them know. I'm going to bring it to my board and I'm going to speak about the concerns and I'm bringing it forward. This is what I'm hearing. But I do want it to, it's not Gavi. There is the community and who we represent as a board. And I'm trying to understand is that as a board, do we need them here? So you're able to hear directly from them, because I hear that we do have courses, but what I've been saying is equity. So when I talk about also, the reason I went into the courses is because I had students tell me that it was very difficult. And before I came and brought this forward, I wanted to experience it myself. So I would be able to see, okay, let me experience this myself. How does this look like? And that's what took me to go into the websites. And so at this point, the equity piece of the courses, we do have courses on the ground, but they're not equitable courses. Somebody decided which courses were reasonable to have on the ground and which ones were not. Somebody made that decision. And I'm happy to come in July also. So I was not part of the process. So I'm happy to come in July if we need to meet to get this work going. So as many times as we need to meet in July, whatever time you need me to meet in July, morning, afternoon, I'm going to put it out there. So I can meet anytime in the month of July to get this work done, because I agree. I didn't say I couldn't meet, so I don't know if it's just something that the culture has been that we go dark, but I'm putting it out there. In the month of July, you can count on me at any time of the day to come and meet to get this work. But I am speaking on behalf of the community. I'm more than happy to have the community come and speak to the board directly if the board needs to hear from the community. But I am bringing those perspectives. And when we look at the courses are not equitable, the ones on the ground. So when we hear the numbers that we have 27, 29, 40%, I understand those numbers, but it would be nice to have a reflection of all the courses that we offer for all of our students that have diverse majors and that want to transfer into the school. So that's just something I wanted to put out there. If it makes a difference in terms of providing a presentation, so the chancellor doesn't feel like, oh my God, I have until June 21st, that he knows, okay, great. Now I know that the board is willing to meet in July. So I have more time if I need to present anything, any decisions need to be made, because I think that makes a difference. So he knows he doesn't have to have something by next week. Just wanted to say that.
Well, I think it's time for a break. So we'll come back at 9 p.m. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We are on to 8.01, which is an information item, and it is the subject is Oxnard College Education Master Plan. We heard a lot about it from academic and classified senates and Chancellor Gillespie.
Yep, thank you. And I know Oxnard's done a lot of work in getting that ready, and I'll turn it over to President Sanchez.
Thank you, Dr. Gillespie. And first, it's a pleasure to be able to speak to the Ed Master Plan. We started this about a year and a half ago, a few months after I got to Oxnard College. I want to first of all make sure to give appropriate appreciation or kudos to Dr. Keller Magano, our Dean of Institutional Effectiveness, who wrote much of the plan, guided us through it. James Schultz, our Director of Marketing and Outreach, who contributed a great deal to the plan, and really all the members of Executive Council, including our two Senate Presidents, Dr. Amy Edwards and Amparo Medina, who were there from the beginning through every step of the way to this point. And when we started this Ed Master Plan, I asked for a couple of criteria to be built into it. The first is that it be lean, because the last thing we need is a thick tome that gathers dust on a shelf. That it be a living document, one that we would visit at least on an annual basis, one that would actually guide the folks that are on the ground implementing it, so that it's not something that's just abstract, but that they look at regularly to have them be guided by it. And finally, that it be perspicacious, that it have actually some connection with the fluidity of the world. And we had to pause during the pandemic to take another look at that world because it's affected so much of the career world and the transfer world. And we wanted to make sure that the plan actually reflects the real world that our students are being prepared for. So we feel like we've got it to the right place to bring it forward. There are 5 principal goals that are not going to be surprising to you. The first 2 are the DNA of a community college, and that is access and student success. I want to point out that the student success metrics are wrapped tightly around the vision for success. So there's no mystery there. And for Oxnard College, those goals are especially meaningful. I have a particularly important goal in boosting our transfer rates, and mark my words, we're going to boost those transfer rates if it's the last thing I do on this earth. The reasons, of course, are complex and deep-rooted. There's some cultural as well as socioeconomic reasons why transfer rates are lower at Oxnard College than they are, say, at Moore Park College. Our students start on a lower rung of the socioeconomic ladder, and so it takes more work to get them to move up that ladder and to transfer. But we are hell bent, and we've got a new grant opportunity to make some strides on transfer. In the access arena, I wanted to specifically talk about this because so much of our discussion tonight has been about enrollment management. To those who say, and I don't know where this comes from, that there are no metrics, that there are no outcomes, that there's no accountability. I honestly don't know where those folks come from because our Ed Master Plan connects very directly with our enrollment management plan, which Dr. Sanford led adroitly, and he's got a lot of experience in doing this, so that at the department level, folks know exactly what our FTES targets are by department. It's got specific numbers, specific measures, specific accountability. And as I mentioned earlier before, I'm not new at this. I'm 30 years in this business. And the first thing I did when I arrived at Oxnard College was realize that we needed some attention on enrollment management. So we hired a director of outreach and marketing to help guide our strategy specifically on enrollment management. And we applied for an IAPI grant specifically on enrollment management led by Jack Scott, again, with particular attention to enrollment management. So in access, for example, part of our plan, we are not sanguine, we are not complacent, we are more enthusiastic than anybody you can identify about boosting our enrollments. And we're allocating $500,000 from those American Rescue Plan funds to boost marketing and outreach, which already had a substantial budget. And part of our strategy, Dr. Cobian is working on a plan to have students at all feeder high schools take a personal growth class where they actually complete their FAFSA and complete their ed plan while they're still in high school before they actually get to Oxnard College, and to have counselors actually situated at the feeder high schools. It's not a slam dunk because the high schools have to agree to it, but that's part of our plan. So we have very specific, these are not simply platitudes, these are very specific objectives and strategies. The other 3 goals, to strengthen the college financially, there are specific strategies there, including the hiring of a director of advancement and grants to somebody accountable for harnessing grant opportunities and gifts. Just to talk about the importance of gifts for a second, you might have read in the newspaper in the last couple of days that CSUN got, I think, $40 million from Mackenzie Scott, the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. Pasadena City College, Santa Barbara City College, they each got $20 to $30 million. And the 2 criteria that were foremost, and I've been talking to our executive council about the importance of these criteria. One of them is that they were Aspen Award aligned, both of those colleges. And so we're one of our goals in the Ed Master Plan is to get national recognition. We've made some progress on that with the Bellwether Award. We've got another ranking in the top 50 community colleges in the United States. I haven't had a chance to put that into the report we've gotten to you, but we will. And so we're making progress in that direction, but we're not on Aspen's radar yet, but I'm pretty close to guaranteeing that we're going to get on their radar one way or another. And also they also have those colleges that receive those grant funds have an advancement office, because those are the folks that know how to appeal to big donors. And so we're making headway toward that goal as well. The other goals that we've got in the arena of social justice and equity, they're more amorphous in some ways, but they mean a lot to us. And a part of that goal is civic engagement. So we've had specific activities in the arena of anti-racism. All of us are wrapped around the goal of closing equity gaps. But civic engagement was a component of that as well. And we actually, as you know, were participants in maintaining a polling place for the 2020 election, participating with the vaccine and the testing sites with the city of Oxnard. So we have some specific strategies there, developing the metrics around anti-racism and equity, and strengthening the college financially for the future. They're a little harder to develop metrics than the traditional student success metrics, but we're still working on that, and we're going to keep refining those metrics and have tangible criteria for them as well. Process, I just want to mention that we had lots of input for this Ed Master Plan. We had not only lots of input from our staff, from our faculty and staff through surveys and town halls and the planning retreat itself. We had participants from the board. I think Mr. Mantooth was there for, if not the whole day, part of the day. Trustee Chancellor, you might have been there. I don't recall for sure. I think you were. Trustee Torres, I don't remember if you made a part of that time, but I know you were going to. So, we and quite a few members of the community as well. I think the last thing I want to say is we're presenting this as an information item tonight, but because of the new board policy around mission statements, we're going to bring it back in August for actually an action item for that new mission statement. And I'll talk about the mission statement at that point then. This will also be trailed by a facilities master plan that will take its cues from the educational master plan and a technology plan. And there will be opportunities, Trustee Chancellor, because I know this is an interest to you, to participate in the discussions around the facilities master plan in particular. I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you for reviewing the report. I mean, the report is the report. So thank you for your leadership in developing the report and making sure it came our way. I'll open it up for questions. I have one, but Trustee Perez.
No real question, except it was great to hear the individuals earlier in the evening speak about how this plan came to be, and you alluded to it in your presentation as well. So it's certainly supported, through the PG participatory governance process, which is very important. And as I was hearing you, the one idea you talked about was high school students filling out the FAFSA application. Maybe at some other point, that sounds like a best practice to me. And I don't know if that's shared amongst. Very good. I see that that's nodding. Perfect. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, I read in the report that you had also the first students, I'm not sure if it was middle school students, went actually to campus, to Oxnard College, and to be able to, that they just enjoy that experience. So I was really happy to read that in terms of just how proactive and just opening the doors and just saying, here's Oxnard College, come. And it was just really nice to be able to read that in the report and to really see that initiative and that vision to be able to do the work. So I just really appreciate everything that the staff is doing. Of course, social justice and equity. I was there, actually, I was invited by Lorena. So Lorena Ortiz, at one point when the lady, I think, who was kind of getting perspective from the students, I think, so Lorena invited me to be there. And so it was really nice to be able to, I came in a little bit earlier than expected. And so I got to hear her actually go over this with the students and try to get their perspectives in terms of what they felt this was. And it was really nice to be able to see that, to have it be inclusive. Was there also an aspect to include the community, like just the community of Oxnard, to just be part of this and just give input?
We had quite a few community members that actually participated in that planning retreat. I'm less sure about participation through other means. I don't know that we had an external kind of survey, but we certainly had some community input.
Okay. So I would just be interested in knowing, like, how do we choose community members and how does that look like? Or do we from different areas? And not that you have to respond right now, but as we move forward to make it inclusive, to be able to grasp just just different from business owners, from just community activists, from just different individuals that we get just to hear from them. And I know I would love to be able to at one point be able to sit in, if I'm able to, as you're looking through the metrics and trying to figure out what that's going to look like for social justice and equity. Because I know you're trying to capture relevant metrics. And so I know that takes time to really be able to study and to try to determine how are we going to measure this?
Yes.
What are we going to look at? And it might look different based on hiring, it's support services. It's a lot of work, and I recognize it. And I'd love to be able to join in one of those conversations just to see this great work that's being done from the academia perspective. With that also, I was wondering if there's like a growth plan, and I know you have a director that was hired, of knowing, particularly for Oxnard, because when I look at social justice and equity and the pandemic in our county, that's really where it was hit in the city of Oxnard and within South Oxnard, where Oxnard College sits. How does it look like to be able to grow the college, to be able to give the students opportunities with a timeline? And I'm sure it's something you probably have. I would love to be able to hear more about it. I'm not sure if it's something to be able to present, I don't know, in July or at a meeting, and maybe Greg can decide when that would look like. But I would love to be able to hear. I know it's something President Sanchez of the community has also asked. And I've said, I know there is a growth plan. I said, I know there is. They've been working on a growth plan. I said, there's the specifics of it, I don't know, but I know that it's going to be coming forward because we know that there's an interest, particularly in our community and of Oxnard. So a growth plan with specifics would be really good to be able to just have, and even for me to reference back when people ask me and say, this is how it looks like for our community college and this is what we're doing. But I don't know if there's something that you have that you wanted to briefly share so far.
We're happy at any point to present the enrollment management plan that we have. I would probably ask Dr. Sanford to lead that discussion because he was instrumental in the development of it. And as you also know, Trustee Torres, I've invited you to come join our executive council meeting sometime, and you can help us frame the discussion around the metrics that we're trying to pinpoint. So, yes to both of those, and I'll look to the chancellor to guide me in terms of when he would like a presentation.
Oh, that would be great. I just want to know that I'm really excited. I was there at the last meeting, I believe, where the group met, and it was so inclusive. It was just really great to capture everyone's perspectives. There were people that said, what if we do it this way? And that voice was heard. It was just a really great process where there was deliberation. Everybody was part of it. And then at the end, you're presenting really an educational master plan that had everybody included, and that it's a really great starting point. This is how we're starting. This is how it looks like for social justice. And then eventually we're going to continue to enhance and to grow. But I appreciate that you had such a succinct document to be able to say, instead of having something so huge, that it was something small. And creating something this small is sometimes much, much harder than trying to just throw in a whole bunch of information, because it's easy to just throw in information.
That's right.
But to be very concise is really hard. And so I just wanted to point out that it was a lot of hard work, and it's definitely noted what Oxnard College did. Thank you for doing that for the entire college and the team and the work that went into it, because it was very well written. It captured really major points, and it was such a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to the meeting in July and being able to join, and maybe we'll have opportunity to meet the Senate and just be there at the campus and tour it, and just be there with the college. So thank you very much for presenting this.
Thank you.
Hey, I would just echo, one of the questions I get a lot is Oxnard College is the college in the biggest city in the county, right? Yes. You hear this, I'm sure, all the time. And, but yet it's the smallest college. And I know that oversimplifies our county and our three colleges and the systems in play, but I don't have a position at this point in time, but I guess I'm curious, does the college have a plan within this plan for the next 9 years? What's the long-term plan, not just with increasing enrollment, but where does it want to be? And it's so intertwined with the other colleges within enrollment. Does Does it have a vision to be the biggest college in the county? Does it have a vision to, grow at 5% each year? And does that growth just come from, graduating high school students and continuing education students? Or is it intertwined with our surrounding colleges? And, so there, these questions that I think are part of what you're expressing, Trustee Torres, I also share just because I get those a lot, and I think they're fair questions. So I don't know the correct avenue, but we can talk it through agenda setting on how to sort of shed some light on those questions and to see what's cooking at Oxnard College.
I'm happy to speak to any of them. Most of them require more than a sound bite, so we would want to set aside a little time. But again, I'll take my cue from the chancellor on which venue and when would be a good time for that conversation.
Great. So it sounds like there's some board interest on that, and I with the understanding the complexity of and I think it's important the other colleges are involved in that discussion because they truly are involved with the growth plan of Oxnard College.
That's right.
I think does impact Ventura and Moorpark College.
That's right.
So, okay, cool. Any other questions before we move on? Well, thank you very much for the report and or for the plan, I should say. And of course, please share that with your staff and Oxnard College community.
Thank you.
Okay, consent calendar. All right, 9.01, approval of the consent calendar. Trustees, if there's anything to be pulled.
If there's nothing to be pulled, I'll move adoption.
I have something to.
I did say yeah.
Okay, all right. Trustee Torres.
This takes us through a lot, right? So like if I have, I don't know for institutional effectiveness, and that's the
What can you give us a number? Sorry.
I have 13.03. So I'm not sure if that's
13, the student rights and grievances?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, we'll pull that. And was there another one?
There was one of one. It's one fraction that I wanted to give it to the first
15.04, action to approve. That is an action item, so that is not consent. So consent, I believe, ends at 14.07. Okay. I would like to pull 12. I just have a comment on it. Well, do I need to pull it if I just have a comment on it? No, I can just make a comment when there's a first and second. Okay. And I would like to pull 12.18, action to approve lease agreement with Bender Farms for the continued use of Ventura College East Campus in St. Paul. And I agree. I also had 13.3. So that was it. So we're now ready for a first and a second.
Move adoption of the consent calendar except for items 1303 and 1218.
Okay. So the only comment I have before we vote on those, and then we can discuss the other ones, is items 12.09 through 12.13. In response to our legal costs increasing a lot, I would like to see if other community college districts have policies surrounding access to our legal firms from staff, because what I've noticed is the costs keep growing last fiscal year and this year as well at very large rates. So if there's some policy around access or using, of course, we want to make sure our staff and district can utilize our legal firms that we've agreed to use or hire. But I just want to be aware and have some policy surrounding the access to it.
Yeah, just to make the board aware, it's already quite limited. I mean, it's myself, it's Dave Elfatal, Laura Barroso. The presidents and anybody else has to work through any of us. So it's very limited. You know, but if you want to consider some policy or look at others, that'll be up to the board. And yeah, we don't want to, I mean, we take spending the legal fees seriously as well, but we also have had a number of things to deal with and things that have been out there a long time that we've taken care of. Dave, do you want to add anything to that?
I was just going to ask if you can possibly clarify your request. I would say anecdotally, this is how it works through the whole system. Those three particular people, and it depends on the year. Costs go up and down depending on what's going on at each district. But if you're asking if others have a board policy, or if you, you know, if you could clarify your request at all through the chancellor. You don't have to do it right now, but I'm just, if I end up doing any of this work, I'd like to better understand what you're asking for so we can at least get some good information for you.
Sure. Sometimes there's a cap, a not to exceed on the contracts, and then it has to come back to us to if they go beyond, and then that way at least we're informed. That's the only thing I've seen.
I think that's maybe a good starting place is just to be aware that costs are increasing at a serious level. And I just wanted to somehow bring some awareness to that, opposed to constantly requesting where we are, that if we can, that information come to the board. So. Sure, Trustee Torres.
Old now because I think we've discussed it beyond a quick comment. Is this?
Oh, I'm ready to. Do you have comments on the?
I'm going to approve it. I mean, I didn't pull it. I just had a really quick comment. I didn't think I had to pull it, but it's on 14.02.
Well, oh, okay.
I just had a comment. I noticed that the position, sometimes I like to go on EdJoin to see like how our positions, what we have at the community college. And I noticed this position was listed already on EdJoin and it's coming to us for approval. Is that common practice that a position is already on EdJoin so people can apply and we're going to just decide whether we're going to support it or not right now? It's been on there for a while because I saw it and I was really excited when I saw it. I'm like, oh, cool, this is such a great position. And then when I saw it come to us for approval, I thought, oh, this has been already on EdJoin. So I didn't know if that's common practice.
You have to have Vice Chancellor Burrows. So, because sometimes it might be that it's at a different college or something. I'm not sure, but if it was the Oxnard one, yeah,
it was because I looked because it's our position.
I'll have to check on that, Trustee Torres. I know Director Ingley is on the meeting. I don't know if she has a quick response for us. Maybe not. I'll get a response for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
This one should be pulled if we're going to get into more detail around it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if it was a common practice, and I just
Okay. Just for the record, gosh, it may have been, I can't remember, 5-6 months ago, but I did ask the same question, and it was assured to the board that positions would always come as approval here first before they were advertised. So I'll be curious to see the response as well. So, okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. So now we're at the pulled items. Trustee Torres, 13.03. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we're at 12. I got to go numerical order, 12.18. My question on this or concern is it actually came from attending the two facilities master plan meetings, one which was in the Santa Clara Valley, and the community spoke a lot about the education center, the East Campus. And so I guess this action or this item that we're approving in an odd way kind of sends a message or a response to the community that at least for the next 2 years, the district isn't going to be changing the location of the East Campus, right? So, and I say that because we're engaging in a 2-year lease, and I understand we're expanding, which is great. I think it more square footage and access for students. I guess I'm just trying to find a bridge between this item and this lease with the facilities master plan. I fully acknowledge a facilities master plan and change would take a lot of time, but I think that should be part of the message that as we sign up for this lease, it doesn't mean we aren't still looking at other options, if in case that is the reality. I just wanted to get some clarification on that.
And
So,
Chair, before
yeah, sure.
President Hoffman's responds, I had a similar question when I saw this item also. What does this mean for the
Right.
drive for a campus center? And then it quickly dawned on me, well, we're going to need some lead time anyway, so it makes sense. And earlier this evening, President Hoffman's did allude to they're still on target to strive to establish a campus center. So maybe you can elaborate on that.
Right.
And so the important thing, I guess, would be what you're asking about, a clear message back to the community that this does not get in the way of that.
And Chair Chancellor, I would echo that. I appreciate you bringing that up for that reason, but the reality is that lead times on things like acquiring another piece of property, drawing plans, getting permits, et cetera, is a very protracted process that involves several years.
Sure, and I know we all know this. I think the community needs to hear that we can do both at the same time, right? We can sign a new lease, but we could also be actively thinking about through a facilities master plan and ed plan of different options.
Yeah, probably. I hope that President Hoffman's would agree with me. We would be remiss if we did not renew this lease.
Sure,
and have
of
that
course.
facility available to boost the enrollment and to nurture the East County, East Campus.
I believe that y'all answered your own question, but you are accurate. And my consultation earlier, I said this is it's deliberately a 2-year lease so that we can finish our facilities master plan, determine what is actually needed, what facilities would be needed for us to be able to aspire to the center status, and look for more permanent location and facilities for our East Campus. So I think that you all answered the question for me. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for reaffirming our answer. So that's good. And I'm sure the community will be excited to hear about that. Okay, 13.03, Trustee Torres.
Oh, and I'm glad to provide an introduction real quick in case that would help to answer questions ahead.
We love introductions.
Yeah, okay. So I know that this has been brought before the board before, and we've had some discussion around that. And I just want to share that, the board policy is very simple on it. It just basically refers to the AP. And the AP then describes the grievance process. And this particular policy are the student rights and grievances, and it's related to academic issues and challenges. And we do have a very quick presentation that we can provide that will provide a summary of what this grievance process is for the colleges. So we have the vice presidents of student services have prepared. It's only 6 slides, and I think it would help answer questions about how the process looks. And the process is specified in Ed Code. So we're basically translating what's in Ed Code to our AP. And they've been working really hard on how do they improve the grievance process for grades, as well as the complaint process for Title IX issues, for discrimination, to create online access to the grievance process and making it more clear for students. But I would like, if the board wants to take 5 minutes, let our VPs of student services share their info, if that'd be helpful.
Well, for me, it's very specific.
Yeah,
I know there was a presentation also that they even went beyond to talk about other areas that wouldn't be academic, and that was really helpful. So I think the VP and the process itself is really thorough, really good. I really like it. I mean, there's really due process taking place. I think as we're doing into equity work, and I looked into another community college And I'm happy to share the board policy if needed, also with the board with Greg to send it forward. For this one particular in grievances, that the students, if need be, can appeal it all the way to the board. And so the way this policy is written, it states that the president's decision, we used to have it that the chancellor would be the one who made the ultimate decision, that the students can appeal to the chancellor. And so now it's being moved to the president. And I believe, I don't know if we received information. I don't think there's many actual grievances that actually go to the level. I don't think there's many grievances, period, which is a really good thing. If I read the information correctly. But if a student, particularly if ever wanted to come to the board and discuss something, I feel that they should be able to have that right. Ultimately, we're here as a governing board that was elected to be able to really just listen to the needs of the community. We make the decision. It could be very well the decision that was already made beforehand, but it does give accessibility to the students to come to the board. And we do have one of the colleges, and I will send it to Greg, that in their grievance, and I looked at it, they have it that the decision comes to the board, and they have it stipulated in their board policy for any grievances that the students have a right to be able to appeal to the board if need be. And this was in their DEI task force in this particular college. They have certain policies that they were working through, and this is one, the student grievances one. And when I read it, I said, oh great, I said, because this is what I was thinking, and it's great to be able to see that a college is also doing that same work. So it really just allows the students to have access to us. Really, that's what it is. But the process itself, the hope is that they don't have to, because it's a really good process that really is fair. But if they want to, they can come. Really, that's literally the thing that I'm advocating and I'm asking for the board, is to give our students the opportunity to come and speak to us should there be something. And then, we make a decision as a board and we see all the information. There's not that many that come. I didn't see any, at least from, I think you sent us, Greg, the number of grievances that we've received, and I don't think we received many, which is really good. So that's what I'm asking the board.
Yeah, a lot of the grade issues get resolved between the faculty member and the student, or it goes up to the dean, and the majority of them get done there. There's very few. In fact, last year there were none. And I think the year before we had some at Ventura College, but it's not a common thing to go all the way through.
They come to the board to just come and talk to us. There has to be a whole process built around this. Because then we also have to hear the other side of it. We can't just hear the student side. So I think that's, I don't know if that was a single college district or a multi-college district that had them come to the board. I think any students have the right to come and talk to us during public comments, as has happened in the past. But to be the final arbiters as a lay board makes me nervous. It makes me nervous to be to decide on, particularly the one that came to us a couple of years ago was nursing students. And, when I dug further into it, it was, what I heard at first versus what I learned, when I talked to the nursing faculty and dug further into it, were very different. And so it takes a lot of expertise to know these disciplines and to be in a position to overturn a president's decision. So that would be my concern. I just think that that's an overstep of a lay board to overturn an academic. You might be more comfortable because you live in the academic world, but I don't. And so I would be very uncomfortable overturning a decision made by a college president on a decision that that they're qualified to make, and I'm not.
Clarify, is there a change? You mentioned that the chancellor is no longer involved in the process with this new language?
No, the way we had it before, the chancellor was the one who had
Right.
the ultimate decision. And so now the decision stops with the president. I just feel that as elected officials, that we were elected to serve in the college, we look at the information, and so we can very much uphold the decision of the president. And I remember, because the students come and speak to us, what's the purpose? I mean, if we don't have any authority, we're not really able to do anything with the information. It serves no purpose of them coming to tell us what the issue is because it's just listening. And so I think we might agree with the decision that was made because information will be presented to us and at the end we can decide this is a decision, but it gives students the opportunity to come to the board. And there's not many grievances. There isn't really grievances. I think that was the first time we've heard of students coming to us. And there was meetings, there was a process. We got to hear. And then it's the decision we decided as the board is just giving, especially during these times of DEI, it's an accessibility of this, them coming to us that they can appeal it. And the board, I mean, there's 5 of us. We can uphold the decision that was made. Or we feel there's enough information to turn it over, we do, but we wouldn't be making the decision just based on students coming to us and saying, this is what I want. But it's that we can listen and we're going to look into it and we either uphold it or we don't. And it's just for our students during these times that they have access if needed. And I did wanted to look at the information and there's not many that come and there is a really good due process. So I just wanted to point that out.
Any other questions or comments, Chancellor Gillespie?
Yeah, I appreciate, you bringing up a DEI perspective, and I know the colleges will be good about that with their implementation. But as Trustee McKay mentioned, these are academic issues that are under this policy in AP, and faculty really have the purview for the grading of students and really the moving of students through the programs as long as the students are meeting their requirements. So President, myself, we can't change a student's grade. Faculty can do that. And so again, when you're asking what's the board's role, what's the board's authority, I mean, it's another step in a process for students to go through, but for what productive step? Are you planning and going to overturn grades or
the board, it's looking at, it's a due process. I'm assuming it's a due process. Faculty gives a grade, but if I remember correctly, and I know we don't have the meetings anymore, but students came, they presented information. It was a lot of information that they brought forward to the board. And we were looking at the due process. For example, I would be interested, okay, so this was a grade, did everything we promised that the students would have. This is just an example of what was brought. Did we have it in place? But it's not, you can't change somebody's grade. The faculty owns their grade. And every situation is different. Really what it is accessibility. Right now, we're focusing on one specific situation. I just realized at that time, just allowing students to be able to come to the board and be able to listen to them. And if needed to act on, we could act on it. And I looked at this at another college. And I looked at when they were looking at this work, they were looking at the policies they were going to start doing DEI work, and they had student grievances. And I read it, their policy, and they had that the students can appeal to the board. And so and I feel for us as elected officials, we decided to come into a world of academia as elected officials without having experience in academia or not. But we decided to listen. It's really fairness, it's due process. I think when students come to the board, they're going to come and say whether was there a due process or was there, I don't know what they're going to say, but that they have that accessibility. Really, that's all I'm saying, them having access to us.
Okay. So my question, and it's based off your comments, Trustee Torres, is, how many other community college districts, and I say this all the time, but it's like always my reference point, how many other community college districts have the grievance process be the final step with the chancellor, especially multi-college districts that go from president to chancellor as we used to have. And then is there a final step that it goes to the board? Is the majority of multi-community college districts that's an occurrence? And I understand you might not have the answer now, but I would like to get that data as one point. My concern with our grievance policy is, I was reminded of it yesterday when we were in agenda setting, and I went to the walk by like the workroom, and there was a poster there, and it was, the whistleblower poster, right? And it had a phone number and a website, and it was so easy for a whistleblower to whistle blow, I guess would be the term, right? And whistle. And the reason why I bring this up is I didn't see, because I also went online at the colleges and like tried to find the grievance process, right? Like, how do you navigate through that? And I struggled with the definition of what would be something that's grievable at the student level, but also the difference between, you know, Title IX issues and a formal complaint. But I guess what I'm saying, even through our fall semester, that in one shape or another for a majority of our students will be not in person on campus, there has to be, or I believe there should be, an online component that students can quickly and easily, if they feel that it's, you know, grievable, and maybe they're thrown out because they're not grievable, but at least they have that access point as the equity of a whistleblowing.
Yes, so the online is supposed to be in place for fall. And again, we won't have the vice president's comment now. And I would suggest, you know, as we're approaching 10 o'clock, that, you know, the current policy is in place. I mean, and it goes to the chancellor. The work through DTRWSS wanted to align, I think, more with the ed code and the other colleges, and they had it end at the president, because really the grading does happen at the colleges. It is a college issue and it makes sense to do that. However, I would suggest, if the board wants to take action, I mean, the policy part is very simple. If you're comfortable to take action, fine. If not, whenever the board is comfortable, or if you need more information, we bring it back. But again, the AP will change if something in the BP changes, where you get a strong consensus from the board. We're recommending that you consider this for the AP, but the AP doesn't need board approval. The BP does, and the BP's not any different.
Right, but take, for example, what Trustee Torres, and I agree we should move on, but take, for example, what Trustee Torres brought up, or for example, what I brought up with the online component. Would that show up in the board policy that then would change the AP?
No, Oscar, do you want to quick just talk about the plan for implementing the online?
Well, let's bring it back. So I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
They're doing it already. I don't know the date when it's coming, but I think it's by fall.
Okay, well, we can bring it back when we're ready, and we'll inform the board when the online component's there, and we'll get the data of other multi-college districts, but we'll move on for now.
Wait, the other thing I want to say, one comment is I did see Oscar's presentation, and I think there's a good plan in place.
Yes.
And I would like to see it. But my only thing about the chancellor versus the president is, how would it be determined if they went to school at more than, if it was a grievance that if they went to more than one of our campuses, by taking you out, I don't, you know, what college do they belong to if they go to all three of our colleges?
Yeah, it'd probably be the college where the grade is in question there. Yeah.
Okay. And just for housekeeping purposes, we did pull, or not, we didn't pull. We pulled it from the consent calendar, but we answered some questions on 12.18. We need to take a vote on that. So housekeeping. So that is action to approve a lease agreement with Bender Farms for the continued use of Ventura College East Campus in Santa Paula. Do we have a first and a second? Okay.
Second.
Oh, Trustee McKay got it. All right. So we have a first by Trustee Perez, a second by Vice Chair McKay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Okay, so we officially pulled that item, and we'll bring back with some information for the board. All right, that's going to take us to action.
And just to clarify, so the board is requesting that we do a survey to find out the policy in place at the other community colleges.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if a survey is needed. Maybe we can reach out to the CCLC and get some data and start from there, and then also look at a timeline on the online component, you know?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I was going to suggest that would be the first step in my mind, is she alluded to a college or a district, and find out their rationale for doing it that way, and then we can determine what next steps
Excellent. I love that idea. Okay. In that case, we're at 15.01. Action to approve board policy 1200 mission statement. And that's on page 437 for those of us that have some paper copies. Chancellor Gillespie.
Yes, so this really just incorporates the new Moore Park College mission statement into the board policy. And as President Sanchez mentioned, we'll be bringing this back again when Oxnard College revises theirs. So we're recommending approval to acknowledge the new mission statement.
I would move approval.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any questions? For item 15.01, action to approve the board policy for mission statements. No. My only comment, and I'll make it very brief, is I attended a workshop recently, and it was a conversation about the strategic plan of the district and sort of a web, for lack of better words, on how the board goals and strategic plan and everything should be aligned. And I'm not saying the mission statement at Moore Park College is not aligned, but just the value of it. Otherwise, you end up with misalignment. So I found that really interesting, and how important that is to really get behind something that is more than just words, but we actually live by. And so that was it. So we have a first and a second. All in. Oh, yeah. Sure. Trustee Torres.
Just from Moore Park College, I was really happy to be able to see that you did this work and you were able to really bring in your values of social justice into your mission statement, because just like Trustee Chancellor said, it's something that once it's in our mission statement, it's something that we're saying this is what we believe in, and everything that we do is guided in these principles. So I really appreciated the words you used, from the word we empower and what it means about people feeling empowered to be learners, and at the local, national, and global level, really to empower our students. And it was just really nice to be able to see that you were able to do this. So I just wanted to just highlight that I was very touched, and thank you for doing the work and leading.
We had a first by Trustee Perez, a second by Vice Chair McKay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. That carries 5-0. That's going to take us to 15.02, second reading. Action to approve board policy 2202, emergency and pandemic response. Any
Yes.
questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to state
Gillespie.
that this is a new board policy and it's back for approval, and there's been no changes to it since it was reviewed the first time.
And Chair, this is a policy that Trustee Mantooth and I served as an first reading. So
Okay.
with that, I'll move adoption in the second reading.
Okay, we have a first by Trustee Perez and a second by Vice Chair McKay. And so just to clarify, this is the second reading, so we're moving on, right? If it moves. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, 5-0. Next is 15.03. Action to reaffirm board policy 2745, board self-evaluation, and AP 2745, board self-evaluation revised is presented for information. So is this an action or an information item?
Yeah, this would be actually action. So I don't know about the for information, but the information I can give you is that this removes consultation council from the board policy in AP, because previously the consultation council was specifically listed as being part of the board eval process.
On this last month, we kind of missed the window for consultation council. So to be consistent with policy, we took them out, and we're going to be working on it and redoing it anyway, as I reported earlier.
Thank you for the teamwork on introducing this item. Is there a first and a second? Okay, first by Vice Chair McKay, second by Trustee Perez. Any questions before we take an exciting vote? Sure.
maybe for Trustee McKay, do we need to be more specific in terms of having input from the community? So with the board evaluation, I know we're moving forward this next year to do it that way. Do we need to have it included somewhere?
We need to redo it. This is just getting past this year when we
Okay.
didn't send the evaluation to consultation council so that
Uh-huh.
we stayed within policy.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a first and a second. No further questions. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. That's gonna take us to, oh boy. 15.04, action to approve BP 7352. Chancellor Gillespie.
Yeah, the changes here really provide a lot more specificity regarding the criteria for the emeritus status. It was pretty brief before, and we had conversations at cabinet, and this provides it how any employee is able to qualify for the emeritus status and have it granted by the board. So we recommend approval.
Listed trustees that so before you couldn't recognize the trustee. I just feel like this status is so precious, so important, specific, and I just want to make sure it's I just don't want to be handing it out. And I'm not saying that's what we would do, but it's a very prestigious, it's a very special status to grant. And I just don't want it to be just because I've served 8 years, or, it's something we do from the bottom of our heart and we run for office. And I'm not saying that I don't want a trustee to be able to get this, but what I read here, and that's I think it was in the section of board policy, like if somebody's been in office for 8 years, they can get this granted. And it goes beyond just serving for 8 years. So I don't know if this is more appropriate for a first read and have more time to really just discuss it. I know it more, for myself.
Trustee Mantooth, I see you moving your mic.
Yeah, I remember when I first read this and we deferred this from a previous meeting, I was just kind of curious about two things here. Is how did they set the length of tenure before you can qualify? It seems a little arbitrary. And why is it different for different groups? And secondly, why is it only the chancellor that can revoke the emeritus status? What was the process? How did that come about?
Okay, so hearing some questions, I think we should pull this item and maybe get some more background information on the item. And but I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to ask any questions so staff can respond.
For me, it's not as much as a naming opportunity, but often there's a waiting period before some honor can be bestowed to make sure it's not emotional. Like if someone passes away, there's this immediate emotion to want to honor that person in some way. And sometimes that's why, policy says you need to wait a year before you do anything, just, for that reason. So that would be the one thing I would consider adding is a waiting period after something. But again, I felt like just the times were really arbitrary.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with all the comments expressed. So we'll pull that item and revisit that. 15.05, we have no board member absence, so that's great. And drum roll, Dr. El Fattal, it's almost that time for the tentative budget. Is that correct? I pulled my sheet, but let's see here.
Almost, but not quite.
Yeah, we
Almost, but not
have
quite.
1601.
16.01, okay.
And that is really for the board to ratify the distribution of some funds we've received from Senate Bill 85 allocations, and they'll be going to the colleges to use for student financial support, CalFresh, and retention and outreach efforts. And you had all of the tables and how it's distributed in the board packet. We recommend approval.
Okay. We have a first by Vice Chair McKay. We have a second by Trustee Perez. Any other further questions before we take a vote? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, excellent. So that's going to take us to 16.02, action to approve the 2021-22 tentative budget for all funds of the district. Chancellor
Chair, I'm
Gillespie.
sorry, before he begins, do
Uh-oh.
you want to procedurally decide to move forward with the rest of the agenda?
Oh, yeah, we were on such a roll.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't be sorry. Yeah, I should we approve like a 30-minute extension here and see how we're doing at 10:30?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Chancellor Gillespie, thank you for that reminder, Trustee Perez.
Yes, I'm glad we were able to have a study session on the tentative budget at our last meeting. And I know we've taken that feedback and Vice Chancellor Elfatal and his team have worked to incorporate some additional information in, and I'll turn it over to Dave for a quick summary.
And I would introduce, excuse me, I would introduce the topic by reminding the board that the tentative budget is based on the January governor's proposal, not May, and won't go through all the reasons why. However, I do want to comment about what's happening at the state budget right now, just briefly to tie to that. The legislative bodies have made an agreement as of the June 15 deadline. However, they have not agreed, there's not full agreement with the governor on the state budget. So some of those issues that certainly when we bring forward the adoption budget later, the legislative bodies branches have changed COLA to 5.07 from 4.05. They're suggesting or recommending a $170 million increase for the hiring of full-time faculty. That would be about $4 million for us. The dollars I'll mention for us are just estimates. I just want to let you know what's happening right now at the state level. They still have to negotiate with Newsom, and that looks like those negotiations will occur over the next 2 weeks, and probably there will be a budget by June 30th. Could go longer than that, although it won't go into September or October like used to happen 10 years ago. So full-time faculty dollars, part-time faculty compensation and office hours, another maybe 1.8 million for us. And increasing funding for deferred maintenance, which would be 11.7 million for us, and then also approving federal funds for deferred maintenance, additional money, 6 million. So there's a lot of moving parts with this. And just to make a few other comments, Governor Newsom in his May revise was providing 150 million for guided pathways. The legislative branches have said 50 million. Zero cost textbooks, 150 million in the May revise, down to 15 million from the legislators. Dual enrollment incentives, 75 million in May revise, legislators 0, et cetera. There's an awful lot of details like that are not settled yet. And so as those come forward, we'll bring more information, but I thought you may have some interest in what's happening as of the last couple of days at the state level. Having said that, the Chancellor introduced the topic well. We did make some changes in the tentative budget presentation package based on the feedback and input from the board at the last meeting, and I will just briefly go through them. I have page numbers for the presentation itself. There was only one change in the tentative budget, which is the same change that was made in the presentation package, so we'll get to that. If you can advance this, all I know is it's page.
I'm sorry, are we looking at, because I have two, the executive summary or the book? Which one are?
No, let's look at this here, on the screen. So I think this is the executive summary, if that's what it's called.
Okay.
Can you advance this to page 10? So this particular document shows our reserve balances. And so this is a replacement page. So the topmost columns, so we can say column 1, column 3, column 5, and column 7, maybe if we think about it that way. Those are identical to what you saw last week, with the exception, our budget officer, James Avis, made some fine tuning to column 5, or the third column on the top, to better reflect how we might close the year, what our projection is to close the year. And of course, because those changes were made in that particular column, that means the rightmost column on that top section also changed slightly. The major change came, the columns on the bottom of this page are a reflection that describe why the balances changed. And so the leftmost column at the top left, and I won't get into great detail here because the explanations are there in the narrative, but this chart basically shows why the projected fund balance changed from the 1920 year end actuals to the 2021 adopted budget projections to the 2021 tentative budget projections to next year's projections. So all of the bottom half of this with the footnotes and the narrative explain why those projections have changed at various points in time. And I would remind the board, and I've said this before, and you've heard me say it, you've heard other CBOs before me say it, that budgets and projections are snapshots on time given a particular day. So these projections here are going to change based on how the state budget ultimately gets approved and what comes forward to us. So these are major changes. For instance, COLA, that's a substantial amount of money more than what was in the May revise. So that's how budget work goes. It's never perfect. It's always projections. So this page also is represented in it's the only page that changed in the tentative budget itself. Okay. And so this is a reflection of that. The other, the other changes that were in this executive summary presentation, page 12 through 15, we brought back several pages that were removed when you saw this last time on May 25th. So we were presenting a streamlined version. And so we just brought them back. So you've seen them before. Those pages just are good information to share and so on. And then also pages 17 through 30. You've seen them before in past presentations for several years. But again, May 25th, that was a streamlined version. So we've added them back with, the proper numbers. And 17 through 30 show the college budget priorities. They show Fund 113, Fund 114. And also the multi-year projections and the core assumptions to the multi-year projections. So those were the changes. The main one, the document that I just went through, and then the rest of them, we just brought back the information that we generally show in a less streamlined version. So those are my comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm just curious. I looked at my email, but I remembered I can't see my district email here. I just haven't seen any calls to advocate to our legislators if they're making, those kinds of revisions, that all sounded like takeaways. Maybe that's the only ones I heard. But I mean, is there any pushback that they're asking us to do, or? I
attended half of the CCLC legislative conference today. I would have to go back. I might have missed some of that, but I have not seen, my mailbox is not being flooded with anything. So this is just part of the process. It's a process that certainly used to go on year after year after year. But
so no alarms are going off?
No.
Okay.
No, not at this time. Well, I'm sorry. One thing I did not mention, I wanted to mention is that Calbright, the Senate and Assembly want to eliminate. So just for whatever that's worth, there's some issues around that. I thought I would share that.
There's been a lot written about that.
Yes.
There was one call to action from the ACL committee, and we got an email, and that was on AB, I think it was 1465 for California.
Yes, that.
Did it get funded? Or, and I made a couple.
No, it's. I think it's still in the works. It's not done yet. So we are. The CCLC is certainly pushing for that, and that's still in the works. And I don't know, the Chancellor may.
Yeah, and we did send a letter to our elected reps on that.
Any other questions? Okay, and then I'll follow up too.
It's more of a comment. So we had a rich discussion, study session on the tentative budget, not the budget allocation model. That's different. And we talked about equity. We talked about the needs of our colleges. We talked about the pandemic, where we are. People are still impacted. Our students are still impacted in Oxnard. We've talked about plans of growing. We've talked about what are the needs, classes for our students. And we look at a tentative budget, and it's a budget. I believe this was on head counts, right? I remember, Diane, you have the The federal money, not
On
the
head
not the-
count.
So this is FTEs. And it's still based on a formula, or not on a formula, but it's based still on metrics that looks all across equal, FTEs, and it disregards an Oxnard college who had a city that was impacted by the pandemic, who lost not only people, but there was lots of jobs. They struggle. Who is the makeup of our students? What are the challenges of our students? And when we're looking at a tentative budget, we're treating it as all of that that's non-existent. We're looking at it FTEs and at what point, and I remember the question was asked back in May, was where do we decide as a board? Because it continues moving in the process. So I know that this is a fluid, but I don't see any changes. So we all agree on DEI work and we all talk about equity and we all talk about things written on paper, but then when the action comes, it's in our budget. This tentative budget is not a budget allocation. That's different. This is a budget. And so it's not a reflection of Dr. El Fattal because he listens to what the board is saying. So I wanted to make that clear. This is a budget that's being submitted and him and his staff worked really hard. And so this is more to the board. It's coming before us. And just like the last 2.5 years that I've been here, it's always, well, we need to pass this. And we talk a lot about it, but where do we act? Where do we say, okay, let's study it and we want to allocate from our reserves a certain amount to one of our colleges based on the pandemic, based on this information, based on what we know for this year. We are very understanding and with our employees, and rightfully so, in terms of a pandemic, what are their needs? We get laptops, we get safety procedures. We spent all this money to be able to provide a safe environment, which we need to, because it's the right thing for us to do, to have a safe place for our employees, for our staff to come to work to a safe place, and for our students. But then there's also things that our students need at Oxnard College. They were hit by the pandemic. If you live in Oxnard, in South Oxnard, you were hit by the pandemic. You just didn't read about it. You were most likely, either you caught the virus, somebody in your family caught it, somebody passed away. You know, if you live in Oxnard, you were impacted by it closely. And that's a reality. It's not just some people. And a budget here is to be able to provide that support. And I don't see any change. And that's what I mean about having discussions that we talk, but at the end, in the budget, we don't see the change. And my hope was that by having a study session, we would be able to have something different, because I had heard that in the budget, we can always change it, but I haven't seen that yet. And I don't know where it's going to come. You know, there's going to be, I believe, Dr. Patel, the adopted budget needs to be approved in September, right?
Correct.
In September, the adopted budget. And then come July, we need to start deciding already.
Glad you brought that up, because we had a discussion about that yesterday, and I'm happy to announce Monday at our strategic planning session, there'll be an opportunity that will be facilitated by the Chancellor to seek input on the budget before the adopted budget is created and, of course, voted on. So, you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was my first point is, you know, I share that concern with you, that I don't think a facilitated opportunity to provide input on the budget beyond a yes, no vote has been choreographed yet, you know, but we've been ensured that on Monday that opportunity will exist, and we'll be able to share concerns or provide input in a very strategic way. So I'm very eager to see that happen as well. But I also want to share, well, I'm going to wait if you still have more, but I have a couple of things that I want to share too. I don't know if you have, okay. Another point is, somewhere in that budget, I'd like to see a justification for having such a large ending fund balance, right? So when I compare our budget to other multi-college districts, we do, and I think it's intentional. The more I learn about our budget, whether it's cost of ownership, accreditation issues, expensive projects at Moorpark College, Ventura, Oxnard, like all of these things in the 113, 114. I'm starting to learn more and more why we have it, but it's after digging for it. And I think that that should be in some of the justification in the beginning of the budget. At least I would like to see that too. So I can go, so the community member can look at our adopted budget and be like, oh, that's why you have, because we got a public comment today about it. Number two, I'd like to sort of have not just the listing of the student center zoo project that costs, the millions that it costs, but sort of somewhere along the lines, a timeline or goal of when those projects can be fulfilled. Otherwise, if we just say we're saving for it, but we don't know when or how that will be fulfilled, it's sort of an empty promise. If we're just saying we're going to do it, but we don't have a plan of when we will actually do it. And I get these are huge numbers. I think the student center in the budget book was 25 million, the zoo 65. So I get it, there's huge needs, but somewhere at some point we need to say, here's our plan to build this or to fulfill it or to at least talk about it. Let's see, for me to help put our budget in context, a 3-year history on some of the items. And I know in the adopted budget, sometimes we have done that. So I know in the tentative budget, we don't, but to me, for example, if we're going to look at our expenditures for the 21-22 school year, it would be helpful to see what it was in the past 3 years, just to see where we've gone. And then of course, the adopted budget where we're thinking we're going to go. So those are the big ones for me. The last is I think we might need to update the verbiage or explanation of our 113, because in our mission statements, the education master plan at Oxnard College, our strategic plan, we do have some language surrounded sustainability, and sustainability will take a financial investment, right? And I would imagine, I'm speculating, but that financial investment or resources to be more sustainable that we're promising our community we're going to do through resolutions and master plans and facility master plans. I would imagine that the dollars to do that work would probably come from 113. It seems like a fitting place to me, but I may be way off. So if in fact it is, but I do think, because I think one of the key reasonings of 113 is like library equipment. And I just think we might need to update the language of 113. So that would be, those are my comments on the budget. So, but I do want to share a thank you for the slide that explained the ending fund balance and the swings of the ending fund balance. And I'm eagerly, that's my last question is, in the adopted budget that we approve in September, will the books be closed and will we actually see the ending fund balance for this fiscal or the last fiscal year? Well, this fiscal year that ends June 30th. Sorry.
The books should be closed.
Okay.
They normally are closed, but they certainly should be closed when that comes.
Okay.
If I make one or two comments, not to take this further, I just want to address Trustee Torres' comments for just a moment and remind the board that this particular budget was driven specifically by the budget allocation model. That's how it comes. The board approved the budget allocation model a few months ago. And so then it's just a matter of the numbers flow out of that. And I know that the board has heard, excuse me, academic senate presidents on several occasions. There have been robust conversations for the last 2 years to align our allocation model with the student-centered funding formula, which take a look at all sorts of metrics, I think 31 metrics total. There were robust conversations about that through that. And so it wasn't, well, I appreciate your compliments to my staff, for instance, but it was really district-wide, classified folks and academic senate presidents and collective bargaining folks on the district-wide committee for administrative services that went through those conversations. And so this budget actually, I don't remember if it's 40 or 50% is based on the student-centered funding formula to a T. And then the other 50% is based on some internal mechanisms here that we have here. But your point is well taken. You've made it before, I think, about Oxnard and the issues that happen in that community. And I think there will be an opportunity to discuss it on Monday, as has been stated and as the Chancellor stated. But this budget itself is driven by the allocation model. So it's very much tied together.
Okay. And I didn't ask for agreement or consensus on the requests I have, just because I figured it would come Monday, that we can kind of dive in a little deeper for input. So that was my only intention of just spitting out some ideas at this point. So, okay, if there are no further questions, sure, Trustee Torres.
The board, we do have, I know that because it's a budget allocation, this is primarily how it was driven by. I think so. It is, okay. But as a board, we can decide to allocate additional funds if needed to a college if we need to, right, on the budget. If we say, okay, for this particular year, this is what we want to allocate funds for this college, we can do that. Right?
The board has much flexibility in having discussions and making decisions. That's true.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a first and a second?
Second.
Okay, any other clarifying questions before we move on?
To Trustee Torres' questions, without a specific ask for something to just allocate funds to a college, extra funds, I would need to know what for. Is there, right now there's a great deal of funds that have come from the federal government, and maybe there's enough there right now. Maybe it's 2 years from now that we need to play catch up there. So I just want to keep an open mind that I think that the presidents would be telling us if there was a specific need. I would hope they would, because they've heard us talk about exactly what you've said. They've heard us talk about it. So, it just may be that there's enough right now with all of the extra federal funds, and maybe it's in order to keep the enrollment growth or the things that need to happen there. It may be 2 years from now that we need to dip into our reserves and help them. Just as a thought. I would need the ask in order to
I think sometimes, and I'll speak on behalf of being an administrator myself. Sometimes when you're an administrator, it's difficult for you to go to the board and give an ask. Not that your chancellor wouldn't be supportive. It's just sometimes it's difficult. It's a difficult ask. It's a different position to put a precedent in. So for us as a board, when we're looking at the information, at the data, we know what we need to do. And I think what we can look at is maybe see what are the specific needs? What are the needs? What are some of the needs? And just, and they present needs. And then we make a decision, because I think it's not fair to be able to put someone in a position to be able to ask, because they're thinking about their sister colleges, you're thinking about it's a difficult position to be, and you probably wouldn't say anything because it's hard. And so I think to put any of our administrators in a position like that to do the ask wouldn't be fair. I understand that position from their end. I think we can find out what the needs are. I know that I've been hearing courses. One of the things that has been consistent coming from us is having more courses at Oxnard College that students can take. And that's me. That's why I graduated from Ventura College.
Okay,
but
so
that's for Monday, right?
That's for Monday.
Okay,
But yeah, we're gonna have a very tight,
Okay.
facilitated, strategic, what other education term can I put on that? Venue to advocate for board input. Okay, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, it is all approved. For, and then Trustee Torres was a no. Thank you. Okay. Next is 16.04. Action to approve memorandum of understanding with Ohana Pet Hospital and Ventura County Community College District, Ventura College Veterinary Program. Okay, we have a first.
Yeah, Chair, did we miss 1603?
Maybe. I think we did. Okay, can we do 16.04 and then go back? Is that kosher? Okay, we have a first by Vice Chair McKay, a second by Trustee Perez. Any questions on 16.04? And I apologize, Laura Brower in cyberspace for going out of order. Any questions? Okay, I would just like to, in 5 seconds, thank Ohana Pet Hospital. I think it was 2 years ago when they came and presented, and I want to thank you for your continued support of our students, specifically in the Santa Clara Valley. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Thank you for the catch for 16.03. Action to approve ratification of instructional services agreement with Farm Worker Institute for Education and Leadership Development. Okay, second. We have a first by Trustee Perez, a second by Vice Chair McKay. Any questions? No? Okay, great. I heard a good program comment. I agree. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, that passes 5-0, which will take us.
1701.
Thank you for that. 17.01.
Happily move.
Vice Chair McKay happily moves for approval for Vice Chancellor of Institutional Effectiveness. And we have a second by Trustee Perez. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Carries 5-0. Congratulations. Okay, next is 17.02, action to approve the Equal Employment Opportunity Fund Multiple Method Allocation Model Certification Form Fiscal Year 2020-21. Chancellor Gillespie.
Yeah, I really think that Vice Chancellor Barroso made good comments on this during her staff report and set the stage there. So really what we're asking the board to do is to certify this form so that we can then receive the state funding for the coming year of $50,000 to help us as we work to develop our DEI and EEO plans there.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a first by Trustee Mantooth, a second by Vice Chair McKay. Any questions or comments? Okay, we have a comment by Trustee Torres, and I will follow up with a comment as well.
I think my mic is working. So I did look over the document in our previous meeting. I also had the opportunity to discuss with Laura as well as with Andrea. And it was a really great conversation. And one of the things I did mention was it's too bad we didn't have the opportunity to have this before, because at this point, the recommendations that I had can't be reflected on this because it's already come to the board. So it's really just informational. What's important, especially during this work, is to be able to present information that's really focused specifically with the intention of hiring in DEI work. And so if you look at all the information that was submitted, a lot of that was referenced to is work that's been done at the colleges. So the colleges have already moved on and done a lot of the work in terms of social justice. And it was done with the intention of promoting social justice within the colleges. They brought in workshops, they brought in speakers, but it wasn't with the intention of HR. And so in the document, that information was included, but it wasn't specific to HR. It was something that was already taking place. So to me, it's really important to submit a document that we can really say, you know what, all of these events that we did was with the intention to increase recruitment, doing DEI work, and this is what we did. And so the documents, most of the documents that are attached are things that were done. I think what I expressed that I wanted to see was, one of the things I mentioned was it was important to be able to look at the disaggregated data of our different departments that we have in our district. And so a year ago in the Administrative Services Committee and also at a board meeting, it was mentioned multiple times about looking at the makeup of our staff, of all of our staff, but particularly instructional staff, because sometimes, and to separate from instruction, counselors and instructional staff, because sometimes when you bring in all faculty, what you see is the counseling staff and the instructional staff together, and it basically paints a different number. And I was hoping to be able to see some information that said, this is our current state, this is how it looks like. I know this is not the EEO plan. I know this is an this is a certification. But it has information that wasn't done with the intention of this plan. The colleges worked really hard, people in different committees put this together, and we're now just adding it as addendums to this plan. And it's just not very reflective of the work we really did in this area. So as I was reading it, that's what came to my mind as I was reading and looking at the documents.
Thank you for those comments. I just have a clarifying question. It says fiscal impact NA. So does, if this isn't approved, is there a fiscal impact? Because we kind of heard that there is.
Yeah, we wouldn't get $50,000 from the state to support these initiatives.
Okay, so when we, if in fact, as a board, we approve this, are we stating that all this work has been done, or this is the beginning stages of work that's going to be done and we're open? Or so this is stating that this is the work that has been done, this is the plan that has been done, and okay.
Yeah, it's a point in time snapshot, really.
Reference is made with a lot of, I'm sorry, Chair, reference is made that a lot of this work is ongoing.
Okay. Is this plan? Oh, go ahead, Vice Chair.
There are revised, I mean, there is some work, the revised job announcement, diversity language. I was, happy to see that there is at least change in the language in the job announcements, and that maybe it's not exactly what we wanted, but there's something. And since this is a point in time and it is a work in progress, that, that maybe that we need to see more on page 392 than what they've changed.
And I may add one other comment. Revising the EEO plans are a major implementation for success as well. So more work will be coming.
Yeah, yeah, because that's in process now.
Okay. I just would, yeah, I'm happy to hear that there's revisions to be made on this. But there was something in the thick packet that we got last time, and it came from the plan component for delegation of responsibility, authority, and compliance. And I want to read that part. It's one sentence here, and it says the Board of Trustees is ultimately responsible for the proper implementation of the district plan at all levels of the district and college operation, and for ensuring equal employment opportunity as described in the plan. Sometimes we receive a little resistance maybe from, asking questions and getting involved, but our involvement is, kind of statutory in this sense, or mandated that that responsibility falls on our shoulders. So I think as we ask questions and are eager to see this plan come to us at an opportunity to provide input, it's because the state has said that that's your job. So I don't want to leave money off the table to implement a plan, but I'm very eager to see the plan seek board input and be revised if needed, and to be flexible and to make sure that we're doing the work that the state and our community is asking of us. So Trustee Torres, and then we'll go for a vote.
I think when we look at information that we're going to send forward, I'm much more comfortable sending limited information, but it's information, it's what we've done. And when I look at the document, for example, here we see resolutions that we've passed. But what have we done with those resolutions? It would have been nice for me to have heard within this last year that information. How does it look like in terms of the demographics, or not demographics, but the disaggregated data of who we have in DEI work and the disciplines? That should have been included here. And that's a piece of information I believe that we had last year. How does it look in terms of some of the work with recruiting? We talked about having perhaps different consultants who can do the work of DEI. There was professional development done by Laura Shulkin. I sat into one of those DEI, one of those meetings or trainings for about 3 hours, almost 4 hours. And I was hoping to see something different. It was very much what we saw as a board. There wasn't much direction. And so when I look at those things and there's things that are added here, it's not a reflection of the work. And so I think I would have felt much more comfortable just, okay, this is what we've done. We met the standard making minimum, but this is truly what we did in DEI work in EE in this type of work with the EO, what is this in the EO plan, but in terms of hiring. And I think it's more of, this is where we stand. And when I look at this document, yes, we're sending it forward, but we know that this work was not intended with HR lens. The colleges worked really hard in putting together these different events, and we include them. But that's, to me, it's just being transparent. It's just being, this is what we did. And but that's just my perspective. You can take a vote.
Okay, well, I think, and and I think that goes along with, we don't have anything for multiple method number 8, right? Which is diversity incorporated into the criteria for employees evaluation and tenure review, one part of it, So I guess I want to make sure voices are heard that this plan is open for revisions. Is that a fair statement, or it's a work in progress? So let me rephrase that. This plan is a work in progress, and Chancellor Gillespie, you have a board that is eager to be updated on the progress. Fair enough? Is that a good statement to make? Okay, okay, great. So do we have a first and a second?
You do already.
We do already. Can I repeat it just because they always, otherwise I get a text.
I moved, and I think Trustee McKay second.
Okay, so Trustee Mantooth with the first and Vice Chair McKay with the second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so it's a 4-1 there with Trustee Torres opposing.
Do you need to consider extending the meeting another half hour?
I'm gonna, how about we go 15 minutes?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say from our perspective, we can bring these back later.
Okay, the only thing.
So 1801 and 02, we can bring back later.
Okay, great. All right, just in our agenda setting, I did comment on 18.02 to reach out to our friends at the League of Women Voters that are engaged with voter registration at the student level, both at secondary and at the secondary level. Okay, that takes us to, to answer Trustee Mantooth, can we do maybe shoot for a 7-minute extension, and we'll see where we're at 10:45. Okay, Trustee Reports, Trustee Mantooth.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, great. Trustee Press.
Yes, I just wanted to also add my congratulations and appreciation for her many years of service to Dr. Linda Chaparro. I've known her for 30 or more years as well. And she always has been involved and engaged in the community, and planning to remain so. And then the drive-through graduation at Moore Park College, I really enjoyed my time there. I was there, I think, from the beginning. And I went into that thinking, how good is this going to be, right? And I thought it was really an intimate, cozy, family atmosphere event. I mean, the parents were right there with their students, not far back in a crowd. Some of them had a little caravan driving through, and
You have the horn blaring.
And again, it was really great to see faculty and classified staff being there up close and personal with the students that they've served all academic year and years before that. And so yeah, we didn't have the typical ceremonies, but we weren't sitting out in the sun either. We were under the shade of the solar panels. So I just thought it was, I'm glad I was in. And then I was only able to attend a portion of the Moore Park College nurse pinning ceremonies, but the two speakers, if you would convey, and I think I sent an email, I mean, just great stories. And somebody alluded earlier about the multi-generational. It's those human element aspects of the work that we see done that keeps me going, and that keeps the rest of us going. Thank you.
I just would echo, I spent the day at Ventura College on commencement day, and the same thing, frightening that many parents said that this was better and that we should do it this way all the time. because it was a long day, but it was the parents were so excited. And then there was even, I think when you were there with me, and a gentleman that drove his wife in a convertible, and she was older, and he was so proud. He said this had been a goal of hers, and to get this degree. And that always just warmed my heart when, it's this was something she's been wanting to do for many, many years and finally achieved her goal. So that's great. And I also want to congratulate Dr. Herrera officially. Thank you for all of the work that you do.
Trustee Torres.
I just want to thank the colleges, our district. It's real beautiful to drive by. I drive more by Oxnard to see the tents, the testing sites, and also the vaccine tents, and to be able to be of service to our community. Because I will tell you this, when people hear Oxnard College or Ventura College or Moorpark College, it's a safety zone. And so to be able to say, okay, you can go get tested over there, you can go get the vaccine, it's stationed over there. And just for us to be able to respond, there's so much great pride. And it's just beautiful. There's a sense of pride just to know how much we're involved. And so I just wanted to thank our colleges, our district, for really being alongside with our community during these times and offering those spaces where people can go and feel safe in the midst of either getting a test done or getting the vaccine itself. So it's just really nice to be able to see the support of our police officers that are there kind of, just driving and being able to just offer support in those areas. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you and congratulations, Dr. Herrera, also for this position. I was very happy to see already the fruits of your work and to be able to see how detailed and extensive and the vision of carrying this forward. And I am very much looking forward to working alongside with you as well as we start looking at this information to start bringing our students back home in the best way that we can, whether it's online, whether it's in person, whether it's hybrid. But very excited. So congratulations. And thank you to the board. Oh, we're going to do the evaluation piece, huh? Yeah. Okay.
So I did attend an event at Oxnard. I did attend an event at Oxnard College. It was for some of our, in the high school district, we often call them newcomer students, but our English language development students that Dr. Cobian, I think, helped facilitate. It was in person live in the Performing Arts Center. And it was great to see staff come out and support those students with a form of onboarding those students and getting them excited about an Oxnard College experience. So that was really neat to see. And I just share what my trustees expressed about the graduation. The past two commencements that I attended was very much focused on the graduate, because that's who we shake hands and give the diploma to, which obviously it should. But the whole drive-through thing really emphasized that it's not just the graduate, it's a family experience. And having young kids, I'm always a sucker for the young kids that are there to see, and the beaming level of these young kids being so proud of many of our students that have young kids, and to see that really reminded me of the important work that we do to advocate for our students and our community colleges. So so I just wanted to say thanks for everyone at the colleges and district to make sure that those events happened, but more importantly, the work to get students to that point. So thank you so much for that. So that's going to take us to future board items, which you have in front. And as always, our inboxes, Vice Chair McKay and myself, are wide open for feedback and asks on items being on the agenda on that level. So thank you for staff for crafting that and including it. 19.03 summary and staff follow-up. Thank you, Chancellor Gillespie, for that information, which was very thorough and helpful. And now we're at 19.04 Board of Trustees, June 15th, 2021 meeting evaluation. I'll start over here. Trustee Torres.
To the board, that we have our conversations and that we listen to each other. And, you know, by being present, by making eye contact when we're speaking, by being able to listen and show that empathy. And that's really important. I know for myself, whenever we come together and talk about different issues. So I just wanted to say, as we continue doing the work, I appreciate the process of our deliverance and deliberating. So, so thank you to the board. And it's always such a pleasure being able to work with all of you. We might have differences of opinions at times, but that's the beauty of diversity. And so, and I just wanted to say that because sometimes we forget to just say how much we truly do enjoy each other and just doing the work. So I just wanted to make sure I also pointed that out and let everybody know.
Thank you for that. Vice Chair McKay.
I do think that it's more productive when we're here. I enjoy being able to at least see body language and see people again. This is all part of our, you know, coming back and reopening process. And I appreciate all the work that went into it for us to be here, because I know that these things didn't all just magically happen. So for that, and we're going to keep working on our efficiency so that you don't have to be here so late.
Trustee Perez.
Well, I want to thank the chair, vice chair, and chancellor for the changes to the agenda. And phrase I've used before, always striving to improve. And so that was a good example of that. Good discussions again. I'm looking forward to Monday's strategic planning session. And strategic is a key word in that phrase. And I say that because for 2 meetings now, Trustee Torres has raised some issues prompted by her review of the budget, but I think they're more properly addressed, as the chair mentioned, on Monday. And along with that, I'm sure staff in preparing the agenda and the information will recall some of the board discussion on some, I'll say, major initiative potential items. Trustee Mantooth alluded to one, and regarding the earlier discussion about, you know, allocating monies for more classes, just to use an example, versus waiting for a program to come forward. Maybe there's no right way to go about it, but one thought that occurred to me is we can give signals from our comments on the dais. It's another thing entirely to fund a line item, making funds available for any program that may come forward. Recognizing all the pitfalls for an undefined program, you know, but the message has also been made that this board has your back, your collective back. So let's have benefit of your best thinking also. Go from there.
Thank you for those comments. Trustee Mantooth.
Too much more I can add, except that one of the things that hopefully is very apparent to everyone is even though everyone sees the world differently, and we all do, depending upon the topic, there's really strength in that, you know, and I'm hopeful that we will find a way to use that strength in a very positive way, whether it be something as simple as greater meeting efficiency or really robust strategic initiatives that we can be proud of generating.
Thank you for those comments. You know, what we're not seeing at this meeting is all the organization and willingness to think differently about this meeting and the structure and getting here. So my hat's off to staff to taking the suggestions from Vice Chair McKay and myself and working through the idea and concept of efficiency. You know, one area for me, and it's an excitement for Monday, and that's the only reason why that was the first yes vote for me on a budget was tonight, was because I'm very eager and hopeful for providing input and a strategic discussion about the adopted budget. So I look forward to that, and there's a lot of hope placed on that. So I feel really good about tonight in a lot of ways. So thank you, trustees, for input and being patient with change, you know. So With that, we're at item 20.01. The Board of Trustees may, we are reconvening in closed session under the title of Chancellor Evaluation. And then we will come back if in fact any action is taken for a formal adjournment. And there it is. So it is officially, what is that? 10:50. Not bad. I'll take it. Not bad. Not bad. All right. So thank you, everyone. Good evening and drive safe. Good night. Good night, Mary.